We do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850... Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to GB News live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. It's 3 o'clock. And for the next few hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me today is former Labour MP Bill Rammell, and also broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy. Coming up on today's show, it's been confirmed that 2 people have died at the Notting Hill Carnival. I'll be asking, is it time to move the event? Labour MP for Ilford South, Jazz Atwell, falls foul of his own scheme as the flats that he lets out are found to be mouldy and ant-infested.
I'm here at Fairlock Waters in Redbridge with Councillor Jazz Atwell, leader of Redbridge Council. It's been brilliant, just meeting residents and people around and seeing the great work that Redbridge Council has been doing. Despite Conservative cuts and despite the unimaginable challenges of the pandemic, Redbridge Council has brought Labour values to life. They've been building homes, libraries and leisure centres. They've been protecting our key services.
Really? Well, in my niggle, Keir Starmer claims he finds a picture of Mrs Thatcher in the Thatcher room unsettling. Forget the Iron Lady. Is Keir Starmer turning out to be the Tin Man? After all, his father was a toolmaker. Then, in difficult conversations, ex-offender turned entrepreneur Stephen Gillen, who spent time in jail with Charles Bronson, joins me to talk about his incredible story of rags to riches. And are the adults really in charge? Here's Angela Rayner clubbing in Ibiza. A 4-day working week proposals have got employers running scared. Will Labour destroy productivity and growth in this country? But before we do all of that, let's get your latest news with Sam Francis.
Good afternoon. It's 2 minutes past 3. I'm Sophia Wensler in the GB newsroom. Now to bring you more on that breaking news. A woman stabbed at Notting Hill Carnival while attending the event with her 3-year-old child has now died. Cher Maximum was attacked in broad daylight after she tried to intervene in a fight on Sunday. The 32-year-old was taken to hospital in a critical condition, but despite the best efforts of medical staff, she died from her injuries. Detectives say they are working with the 32-year-old's family and providing support to make sure the child is safe and looked after. We're also hearing a top chef attacked in a separate incident during Notting Hill Carnival has also now died. Police found Musi Imnetu unconscious on the street in Queensway before paramedics arrived. A 31-year-old man has now been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. However, police are still looking for witnesses who may have seen Musi between 1 o'clock on Monday afternoon and the time of the attack just before 11:30 p.m. In other news, error messages and glitches are hampering people's attempts to land tickets for the Oasis reunion tour. Experts are warning bots could be snapping up large numbers of tickets, leading to website crashes and customers being blocked. Ticketmaster, one of the major sellers, insists their site hasn't crashed, but fans are still reporting outages and long queues. Now, a 77-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a woman was found dead in Gloucestershire. Officers were called to a house in Fairfield Road in Cheltenham in the early hours of this morning, where they found a 66-year-old woman with serious injuries. She died at the scene. Police in the West Midlands are actively investigating the fatal stabbing of a 13-year-old boy. A murder inquiry has been launched following the tragic incident in Oldbury on Thursday, with no arrests yet made. West Midlands Police have assured the public that those responsible will be brought to justice. Chief Superintendent Kim Madill is urging residents to come forward with any information.
And we are following active lines of inquiry to find the suspects. We know that the incident took place inside his home, and I would appeal to anyone who has information to come forward. We have local officers and youth workers in the area over the coming days, so please speak to them directly if you have any concerns or information that you would like to pass to us.
Now, travellers at Heathrow are facing disruption as Border Force staff go on strike today. Around 650 members of the PCS union have walked out in protest over rota disputes, with the strike lasting 4 days. Further disruption is expected from Wednesday as workers refuse to do overtime, leading to an overtime ban from September the 4th. Despite the escalating tensions, the Home Office says it's committed to continuing the conversation to resolve the dispute. A newly elected Labour MP has issued a public apology over reports of serious faults in some of his London rental properties. Yas Athwell, who represented Ilford South, owns 15 flats where tenants have complained about black mould and ant infestations. He says he's shocked at the reports and vowed to take immediate action to address the issue. New research reveals Ozempic might do more than fight obesity. It could also slow down ageing. In a study of over 17,000 people aged 45 and older, the anti-obesity drug, semaglutide, not only reduces the risk of death for the heart disease, but also cuts mortality rates from all causes. Experts say the breakthrough could have significant implications for treating obesity and extending healthy lifespan. Fighting will pause in Gaza tomorrow as part of a plan to roll out polio vaccines to hundreds of thousands of children. The scheme will be staggered during breaks in the conflict over 3 days. Last week, health officials confirmed that a baby had been paralysed by the virus, the first such case in the territory in 25 years. And social media platform X has been banned in Brazil after a long-standing disinformation row. The move follows a feud between Elon Musk and the Brazilian Supreme Court over a failure to block accounts accused of spreading fake news and hate. In response, Elon Musk posted on X, calling the move an attack on the #1 source of truth. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler, more in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good afternoon. It's just coming up to 8 minutes after 3 o'clock. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Coming up in the Great British Debates this hour, I'm asking, can you trust Labour to transform renters' rights? Newly elected MP, Labour MP Jas Athwell, has been found to be renting out flats that have black mould and are ant-infested, breaching his own scheme. Now, he's the biggest landlord in the Houses of Parliament, in the House of Commons even, renting out 15 flats, serving a party that is committed to transforming renters' rights in their manifesto. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, can you trust Labour to reform renters' rights? Then, will Labour destroy productivity and growth in this country, whilst Labour's Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner hits the headlines after she was spotted partying in a DJ booth in a club in Ibiza? Angela has dropped a bomb on employers. She is proposing workers be given the rights to request a 4-day working week. But should the government be getting involved in mandating the number of working days? Surely this should be down to the employer. What if the employee is refused? Will the right to demand a 4-day working week deter business owners and reduce productivity? So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, do you think Labour might destroy growth and productivity in this country with schemes like that? Coming up, there's always something going on in the royal household, and this week's been no different. Royal biographer Angela Levin will be here to give us an update, and as ever, send me your thoughts, post your comments at gbnews.com/your say. Right, well, let's get to our top story this hour. A 32-year-old mother and a man who were attacked in 2 separate incidents over the Notting Hill Carnival weekend have died. Now, the Metropolitan Police said that Cher Maximum, who had been at the Carnival last Sunday with her 3-year-old daughter, died in hospital this morning. Separately, Musi Imnetu, who worked as a chef and was found unconscious on Monday evening near Notting Hill, has also died from his injuries. So joining me now, retired Scotland Yard detective Mike Neville. Mike, thank you very much for joining me. Now, listen, Mike, last year I pitched an article to the Daily Mail to write about Carnival. I said it needs to be moved. I said it's not safe. You cannot have people running around with machetes. And here we are now dealing with the aftermath of yet another Carnival. The list is always this way. Mike, what is your thoughts on Carnival?
Well, firstly, and it's obviously a tragedy, you know, 2 people to lose their lives. No event should cost that. Now, if the Notting Hill Carnival was moved and placed in somewhere like Hyde Park and had some kind of barriers around it, they could control the access of people who are bringing in weapons or drugs or whatever, particularly weapons. At the moment, there's some knife arches, but of course, you only have to know somebody who lives in the Carnival area and you can go and get a knife out of their kitchen drawer, or you can hide a knife 3 or 4 days before and get it then. So I just think if it was more controlled, in a better place, we might not see these tragedies. And often with politicians, it takes some sort of awfulness and tragedy to make them rethink things. And the sad thing is that the death of these 2 people who had a full life ahead of them and a child who's now motherless, to do something about it.
Well, I'm still... I mean, I don't know whether Sadiq Khan has made any statements or said anything. I'm still waiting to hear him say something. He said himself in his own speech a little while ago that he's scared in London for being openly Muslim. Well, you know, I think, and I did do a monologue saying we're all scared in London in particular. It's a frightening place to be. We just lost Mike, but we'll come back to him. But joining me now, though, in the studio, Conservative member of the London Assembly, Andrew Boff. Andrew, so I'm going to come to you with regard to Carnival. It's been going for many years. It's been a success, but it's got bigger and bigger and bigger. What are your thoughts on this? The 2 people have died, you know, within...
Well, you know, those people who are proposing as an alternative that the Carnival could be moved should not be being accused of nefarious activity, you know, not being a racist or against the community. It is a successful Carnival because so many people want to go to it.
Yeah.
But it's become so large that it's really difficult to police and keep people safe. And we know that during the last Carnival, for example, 10% of those people who were stopped and searched by the police, 10% then went on to be arrested for carrying things like knives, machetes, and all the rest of it. There needs to be more stop and search because that is keeping people safer. And we also have to consider whether or not even part of the Carnival can be moved elsewhere because the police are finding it difficult to police it. And we've got to listen to the professionals. They're the ones that are keeping us safe. But it's an important part of London's life, so it must continue.
My thoughts on this, and I'm wondering what is the resistance for it being moved? I know you said part of it. I don't get what the problem is. You can still carry on the Carnival. It's just, you know, the people who live in Notting Hill leave there, they border their windows. You can see people having a pee outside their house.
Yes.
It's just...
It happened to a cousin of mine lived in Notting Hill not so long ago, and that was exactly her experience. Yeah. People relieving themselves in her garden, and it's just, it can be intolerable for people in Notting Hill during that period. And I'm fully aware that culture needs to be celebrated. The culture of Carnival needs to be celebrated. But in order to celebrate it safely, it perhaps should be moved.
And I'm also looking at because a lot of people are calling Keir two-tier Keir and all this, and, you know, look, that aside, but there were rioters at the beginning of Keir Starmer's prime ministership, and now you have something like Carnival where people are actively behaving in a terrible way. I'm hoping that he's going to be as fast, litigiously, as he was with the rioters.
Well, I do think it's also down to the Mayor of London as well.
Well, let's bring him in.
And we will certainly be asking for a very thorough report on Carnival this year. We shouldn't forget that the vast majority of people who went to Carnival enjoyed it, and it was a positive experience for them. But that shouldn't hide the fact that for some people it's an opportunity for them to stab, for them to steal, and for them to create misery for other people. And here, just today, we've heard of what happens if you don't police well, if you don't give the police the tools to do the job. And one of the tools is place Carnival in a place that's easier to supervise.
It has to be, and really so sad to hear the death of two people.
It's awful.
It is really awful. I'm hoping that Mayor Khan, if you are listening, I don't know whether he does watch GB News, I'd like to hear what he has to say with regard to all of this, because, you know, London is riddled with knife crime, as are other cities in this country. But Carnival seems to be an opportunity for many to just run amok. But so what do you think? What are your thoughts? gbnews.com/you'll say I've got a question up on X asking you whether Notting Hill Carnival should be moved. Please place your thoughts and comments there. We'll read them throughout the show. But breaking news, 2 people who have died after Notting Hill Carnival. They died today on the same day. Right, now moving on to another big story, really, and that is, of course, a Labour MP apologising after reports of serious faults in some of his London rental properties. Now, the newly elected representative for Ilford South, Jazz Athwell, has been found to be renting out flats with black mould and ant infestations. Now, he is the biggest landlord in the Houses of Parliament. He's got House of Commons, with 15 homes, and serves a party that's committed to transforming renters' rights in their manifesto. Now, here he is with the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, speaking alongside Mr Atwell back in 2021.
I'm here at Fairlock Waters in Redbridge with Councillor Jazz Athwell, leader of Redbridge Council. It's been brilliant just meeting residents and people around and seeing the great work that Redbridge Council has been doing. Despite Conservative cuts and despite the unimaginable challenges of the pandemic, Redbridge Council has brought Labour values to life. They've been building homes, libraries and leisure centres. They've been protecting our key services.
Well, in a statement, Jazz Athwell described himself as a renters' champion, adding, "I'm shocked at the reported conditions of a number of the properties and have asked the managing agent for an explanation and immediate action to rectify any issues." Well, look, I have been a landlord for many years. Only by default as well. I'm just an accidental landlord. I moved somewhere, didn't sell the house that I was in, and I've been renting out my property for over 20 years. And I've been through situations where there is a managing agent, and I've known exactly what's going on. So joining me to discuss is Andrew Boff. Andrew, how can he say that he doesn't know? He had no idea. Even when there is money that needs to come out of the account to do something to fix the property, the agent is on you for that money.
Well, I'm astonished that he doesn't know, because I knew. I went and walked around those properties and I talked to some of his tenants. And I tell you, if he is an example of what Labour thinks is Labour thinks is going to of good landlords, then God save us all. Because the properties were appalling. It was the kind of place that you wanted to wipe your feet on the way out, if you know what I mean. Tenants complained about poor service. There was mould. There was damp in many of the rooms. There were ant infestation. It's just appalling. And the point is, if the Labour Party don't take any action against Jazz Athwell, then what value are any of their statements about renters' rights? What value at all? The vast majority of landlords are really good. They're good to their tenants. They look after the condition of the properties. And just saying it was down to the managing agent really isn't good enough, because ultimately the person who's responsible is the landlord themselves.
The buck stops
and
there.
he really should do. But the worst thing about this, the real most awful thing about this, was that Jazz Athwell was the one who introduced this licensing scheme in Redbridge. Now, it goes to show how valuable these licensing schemes are.
Now, the licensing scheme was that landlords had to reach a certain criteria to be able to be landlords. Is that part?
Well, what if you let out a property in Redbridge, then you have to have a licence. Now, that's an additional cost for landlords. And I mean, they sold it as this licensing scheme as being a way in which they could improve the stock, improve those letted properties. But actually, all it ends up being is a register of honest landlords. Those honest landlords who comply with the legislation and register. It doesn't do anything for people like Jazz Athwell,
I mean,
who
he didn't have a
register.
licence.
He didn't have a licence. And yet he told everybody else in Redbridge that they had, landlords in Redbridge, that they had to have one. I mean, there's a word for that.
Well, yeah, because, look, even if he claims that he didn't know about this, let's just say that this is truthful and that he doesn't know.
OK, I would have forgiven him, but that's not what the first thing he said was. What he said, first of all, is there's nothing to see here. I comply with all the regulations and all my tenants are ever so happy. Well, clearly then.
Because the bottom line is, even if he claims that he didn't know about this, he did not have a licence.
No, he didn't have a licence.
It's his own scheme.
Now, wouldn't you have thought that the person who would have brought it in would realise that their obligations were to have a licence? So the Labour Party's got to take action. If they don't take action against him, we know whether or not they're going to be serious in government. But, you know, bits of the Labour manifesto are disappearing as every week. So perhaps this one will too.
Andrew Boff, thank you very much for coming in. Really good to hear your thoughts. That's Andrew Boff. He's a member of the London Assembly. Right, still to come, Conservative member of Andrew Boff, who's just spoken to us with his thoughts. What are your thoughts? gbnews.com/your say. Coming up, Ricardo Blanco, property expert, may well join us. But first, will Labour destroy productivity in this country? Stay tuned, that is on the way. This is GB News.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Luis Elizondo says that he worked at the Pentagon and that he knows that they have recovered material that is not from this Earth. He resigned after believing his government wasn't taking the threat of UFOs seriously. So have they been covering up alien material from us?
I don't think the claims that are being made in Luis Elizondo's book, Imminent, are new. But I think what we have to pay attention to is the seniority of, one, Luis Elizondo, and two, the people who recruited him, and indeed the people he worked for, which was the Department of Defence and the Pentagon.
You think that he was in a position to know about this?
Yeah, he would have been. He would have been speaking to the individuals who were taking part in these investigations. You're showing some of those clips just now that potential incursions by objects controlled by a non-human intelligence, potentially. We're not saying alien necessarily, but something non-human.
Seems a bit far-fetched to me, Andrew. I'm a sceptic.
When people say sceptical, I think as a species, we're relatively new in terms of what we do in space. But right now, we've got a robot on Mars that drives about and has a little helicopter drone that every so often comes up, flies about away 10 feet from it to collect samples and comes back. Now, a species a couple of hundred years down the line from us would have far better technology than that. So who's to say what we're encountering aren't just really advanced probes from something else that's just slightly ahead of us in the technological scale? I don't think that's too far stretch of the imagination.
When you do see things like what we just saw there, which was made public, the New York Times did a big expose on all of this, and actually, you know, the world didn't end. We weren't all outside fighting each other for scraps of food and burning down the nearest Lidl, were we? We just thought, oh, that's quite cool.
I think now we have to look at it and maybe take a step back, look at the people coming out now, talking about UFOs and thinking, is there something to this that we've maybe been overlooking?
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good afternoon, 24 minutes after 3 o'clock. If you've just tuned in, welcome. This is GB News. We are Britain's news channel. I'm Nana Akua, and it's time now for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, can you trust Labour to transform renters' rights? I mean, all of this as newly elected Labour MP Jazz Athwell has been found to be renting out flats that have black mould and ant infestations. He's the biggest landlord in the Houses of Commons, renting 15 homes and serving a party that committed to transforming renters' rights in their manifesto. He represents Ilford South. He actually introduced the licensing for landlords in his constituency, which is quite interesting. So, for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, can you trust Labour to transform renters' rights? Joining me is property expert Ricardo Blanco, or Richard Blanco. I can't help it, Ricardo Blanco. It just sounds good, doesn't it?
Good afternoon, Nana. Lovely to see you. You can call me either.
Right, now let's do this. Labour. Jazz Athwell has come up with this licensing for landlords. Give us a brief summary of what that entails. And he was found not to have a licence for the thing that he introduced, his own scheme.
That's right, Nana. It's been reported that 7 of his properties that should have what's called a selective licence don't have a licence. I believe that's the case. That's what's been reported anyway. These are pretty expensive, actually. And it's a bit of a scandal, really, that Redbridge Council hasn't discovered the fact that he doesn't have those licences, given that he is the former leader of the council. Now, you know, a lot of landlords are really fed up with licensing because it's very costly. And as was said in your previous discussion, all the good landlords tend to pay for these, and then the bad landlords just get away with it because they're not found out. What we'd like to see, I think, really, is a kind of light touch registration scheme. Maybe something like the property portal that both the last government and the new government are talking about, replacing licensing, so that, you know, there's a more effective scheme, really, to catch out people who have not bothered to pay for the licence.
Because that would have caught him out, wouldn't it? But somehow he's got away with these properties being mould infested and also full of ants, which... and, I mean, I saw some of the clips there where the smoke alarms and detectors were supposed to be. They were hanging off the walls. There's no way that I could get away with that. And tenants were complaining. Ricardo, I've got to go because I've got to bring in my panel. It's been short and sweet, but thank you very much. That's Ricardo Blanco. Really good to talk to you. Right, well, joining me now, former Labour MP Bill Ramble and broadcaster Lizzie Cundy. Let's start with you, Bill Ramble. You're a Labour man. That's not good enough, is it?
No, it's not good enough. I think it's really concerning, letting out so many properties where, you know, there are health concerns, there's cleanliness concerns, and then not registering for the scheme that he set up as the leader.
Well, we
of
know
the
that, but he's from the Labour Party.
No. Let me finish. I think there's enough evidence to actually suspend the whip from him pending an investigation.
Is that all? You'd be given the red card, totally,
well,
surely.
In any situation, you have to get all the facts, but I think there's enough evidence to suspend the whip. And, you know, Keir Starmer's been really tough on conduct of MPs in opposition.
And just
that's even more important in government.
The whip, just explain this to our viewers.
He would no longer hold the Labour whip. He wouldn't get information from the Labour Party. He wouldn't attend Labour Party meetings. There would then be an investigation and he could lose the whip completely.
And which would mean he'd become an independent in his seat. I'd probably go further, Lizzie. I mean,
throw the book at him.
I think this is by-election territory, surely.
Totally, absolutely. It's disgraceful. I don't trust this government, Bill. You know that. I wouldn't trust them with my granny, and I wouldn't have they taken a winter fuel allowance.
That was your view, Lizzie, before we took office.
Look, Look, these licences are very costly, and the bad ones of these landlords seem to get away with it, and that's the worry. And what's happening now, landlords are just selling up. We have a huge housing problem. 35,000 landlords just are selling up. They can't do this. They're just getting taxed to death. And, you know, the government should be looking at working with them and keeping them in the arena. My friend, that's a landlady, just said it's absolutely a nightmare these days. And she's an honest one. There are some about. Unlike, you know, and Redbridge Council, honestly, they should know better. It's absolutely disgraceful.
What does that say about the Labour Party, that somebody like that can be going under the radar for so long without anyone saying anything?
Well, you don't know what every MP is doing in their private life all the time.
That's an hold on. That's a ridiculous thing to say. You could never know what anyone is doing in their private life. You don't know. So my point is this: how could somebody so prominent get away with this sort of behaviour for so long? Within the Labour Party?
Well, I don't know the answer to that.
His own scheme.
What's important is the information has now come out, and I've honestly said...
caught out?
Yeah, and
He didn't come out honestly, was he?
I've honestly said that he should have the whip suspended and there should be disciplinary action. But none of that gets away from the fact... And look, I declare an interest. I'm a landlord and I act responsibly. And I think... And this notion, Lizzie, that all landlords are leaving the private rented sector, I don't think is borne out by the facts.
35,000 are.
Are these the stats?
These are stats. This is fact. 35,000 are leaving the housing market. And you all want to build houses. Even if you built a house every 2 minutes, there wouldn't be enough.
But tell me which bit of Labour's reform for renters you disagree with? Ending Section 21 no-fault evictions? Stopping the bidding war at the highest...
OK, so you asked the question, I will tell you which bit. Stopping Section 21 evictions, especially when there is no backup for the court system. So what you're effectively saying is you're leaving a landlord with a tenant who may be destroying the property and they are stuck with them because the court processing is so slow. So to bring that in without the backup is absurd.
Well, we haven't we've not brought it in yet.
Yes,
there will be a time lag, and yes, we need to get a grip with the court system.
Well, that I would be doing that first without scaring landlords. Even by the very notion that Labour have announced it's scaring landlords.
If you're doing nothing wrong, you've got nothing to fear from
There's a
the repeal
rental
of Section
crisis,
21.
Bill. We've got a rental crisis and thousands of properties are now going. Landlords can't do it anymore. They can't afford to be a landlord. That's the truth.
You can, because thousands of landlords do it and make a good living out of it.
There's no tax breaks for them.
You don't make a good living out of it, Bill. These are lies. You must know that, surely. There is no... You don't even get... Even if you...
Well, I know what income I get on my own property.
The mortgage that you pay is not even tax-deductible. So nothing is tax-deductible anymore, even though it's a cost. So I know that I've been a landlord for over 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm well aware of how it was at the beginning and how it is now. But my point is this, and let's come back to Athwell. He is a member of the Labour Party. He brought in the licensing scheme. For somebody like that to be flouting it, how can people...
It's absolutely wrong.
My question, how can people trust Labour? He's been in their ranks for many years.
Well, you trust Labour by its words, its actions, not their words. And the reforms we are going to bring in will make it safer and more secure for renters, because there are... And look, he's an example, on the face of it, of an unscrupulous landlord, and people need protecting from unscrupulous landlords.
And he needs to be thrown out.
Well, he may well be.
He's an example of a bad landlord while sitting in the House of Commons. In fact, he's the biggest landlord there. Interesting. Right, well, in a statesman, Jazz Athwell describes himself as a renters' champion, and this is even after this had been uncovered. I'm shocked at the reported condition of a number of the properties and have asked the managing agent for an explanation and immediate action to rectify any issues. 32 minutes after 3 o'clock. Make of that what you will. You're with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GBNews. It's a bit like the shocking black hole. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Coming up, we're going behind the palace walls with Angela Levin. But first, let's get your latest news headlines with Sophia Wensler.
Nana, thank you. Good afternoon. It's 3:32. I'm Sophia Wensler in the GB newsroom. A woman stabbed at Notting Hill Carnival while attending the event with her 3-year-old child has now died. Cher Maximan was attacked in broad daylight after she tried to intervene in a fight on Sunday. The 32-year-old was taken to hospital in a critical condition, but despite the best efforts of medical staff, she died from her injuries. Detectives say they're working with the 32-year-old's family and providing support to make sure the child is safe and looked after. Meanwhile, a top chef attacked in a separate incident during Notting Hill Carnival has died. Police found Museum Netu unconscious on the street in Queensway before paramedics arrived. A 31-year-old man has now been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. However, police are still looking for witnesses who may have seen Musi between 1 o'clock on Monday afternoon and the time of the attack just before 11:30 p.m. A pensioner is being questioned on suspicion of murder following an incident in Cheltenham. Gloucestershire police were called to a property in the early hours of this morning where they found a 66-year-old woman with serious injuries. She died at the scene. Police in the West Midlands are actively investigating the fatal stabbing of a 13-year-old boy. A murder inquiry has been launched following the tragic incident in Oldbury on Thursday, with no arrests yet made. West Midlands Police have assured the public that those responsible will be brought to justice. A 32-year-old woman has been arrested in Germany after 6 people were injured in a knife attack on a bus heading to a festival last night. 3 of those attacked in the incident east of Cologne are in a life-threatening condition. Another 3 have been discharged from hospital. German authorities say there's no evidence of political or religious motive. And teacherless classrooms with pupils being taught by AI are being trialled at a London school this year. A class of 20 GCSE students at David Game College will spend the year learning from bots. The school says the tech will pinpoint the areas pupils need help with, but head teachers say education shouldn't be taken out of educators' hands. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler, more in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We're starting the weekend on a fine note across the bulk of the UK, but over the next couple of days, things turning more unsettled, increasingly humid for a while, and we'll start to see some thundery downpours developing in places too. High pressure is pulling away towards the northeast of the UK now, allowing a southeasterly feed to develop. This warm front starting to introduce more in the way of cloud from the south, particularly across parts of England and Wales as we head through the evening into the overnight period. 1 or 2 showers also breaking out from that cloud as it starts to thicken from the south, particularly towards the southeast of England later in the night. Here there could be thundery in nature, those showers, whereas towards the northwest it's clearest. We'll hold on to some good clear spells right through the night here, turning locally quite chilly with temperatures dipping into single figures, but towards the south of the UK, increasingly warm and humid, temperatures here in the mid to upper teens. So we start Sunday then on a pretty clear note towards the north and northwest of the UK. 1 or 2 mist or fog patches in places, those soon burning away to give some sunshine. Temperatures responding into the low teens by the early morning as the sun starts to get to work on those temperatures. Further south though into England and Wales, again more in the way of cloud around. Still 1 or 2 showers, locally on the heavy side at this stage, mainly towards the southeast of England. And again 1 or 2 of those showers could be thundery in nature. On the whole, Sunday will be a cloudier day than on Saturday. I think the best of the sunshine lingering towards the northwest of the UK there, but elsewhere a fair bit of cloud and a few showers also breaking out in places, particularly across central, southern parts of England and later across the north of England too. Some of those showers turning heavy and thundery could give 1 or 2 problems, I think, in places with some flooding issues. So the best of the lingering brightness towards the northwest of the UK. Notice though, towards the southeast it's very warm and humid. Temperatures here into the high 20s, 27 Celsius, that's 81 in Fahrenheit. A bit cooler towards the northwest in the high teens. Into Sunday evening, the showers start to migrate their way northwards, a few starting to push into Scotland as we head through Sunday evening. Elsewhere, though, we're holding on to a few clear spells. On the whole, though, the start of next week looks pretty unsettled. Showers or longer spells of rain around, perhaps turning a bit drier towards the middle part of the coming week.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria Di Piero, bringing you
PMQ's live here on GB News.
Whenever Parliament is in session on a Wednesday at midday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions. We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's live here on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, 39 minutes after 3 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. Welcome. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Now, there's always something going on in the royal household, and this week has been no different. And every Saturday, I love to give you a rundown. And who better to do so than royal biographer Angela Levin. Angela, what have we got?
Hello, there's an awful lot, but I think the main interesting thing is that Prince Harry said a week or so 2 weeks ago, I think it was, that he absolutely wasn't going to go to his uncle's funeral because there wasn't enough protection for him. But actually, he's crept there in Norfolk, and he turned up unexpectedly for the general public. And his uncle, Lord Fellows, was married to Jane Spencer, who was Diana's sister, who was the most practical and helpful of the three children, the three girls, and she's done an awful lot for Harry. She went when he died, when his mother died. She took an enormous present for his birthday at Eton. You know, she went to recognise the 10 years of the Invictus Games. She was there for the revealing the statue of Diana, and she's been there for him whenever needed. And I thought it was just terrible. He wasn't going to go there, but he has been there. They didn't talk to William. William didn't talk to him. I don't think you can do that when you go to a funeral. You know, start talking and it might get unpleasant. But I do think that's quite interesting because one is, did he get any protection? Who knows? And if he didn't, if he takes the government to court yet again, they would say, well, look, we managed without that, but we don't know about that. But also the paper, the magazine that does loads for Harry and Meghan, they were the ones who said he wasn't going. So they said what he wanted them to say. And they must be a bit upset that actually he's used them to pretend that he's not
he
going.
just used a little bit of subterfuge, tell people you're doing something and you're not doing, then do the thing. That's all he needs. He doesn't need any protection. I mean, how did he get there? Probably in a Bombardier private jet that gives off 60 times more carbon than anybody else.
Yes, well, we don't know about that, but I think the good thing was that he was there, and of course today is Remembrance Day for Diana, the day she died. So that he went there and he was with her side of the family, and I think that that's very good and might help him feel a bit better about things.
Oh, I just wish they'd stop this rift. I mean, it's not doing anybody any favours at all. Nobody's benefiting from it. Neither of them are doing well out of it. William is not doing well out of it. Harry is not doing well out of it. The King is not doing well out of it. Meghan Markle's not doing well out of it. Why can't they just...
No, I don't think it's that easy. I think that they might do much worse if they were together again. You can't trust him, that's the trouble. He's sold anything that's worthwhile that people have said to him. And William, quite understandably, is protecting Catherine. They've been incredibly unpleasant about him. He can take it himself, he's a big, strong man. But I think... and also, King Charles has to be fearful that he's got this cancer and he can't have anything that really upsets him. He doesn't want Harry to come in and make demands, which is what he's done every time so far. And Harry's got to go back to the old Harry, and I can't see him doing that. You know, he's hardened. I knew him when he was softer, and willing, and he was actually known to sort of sort out problems within the royal family because he was very good at making things better. He's not that now. He's absolutely the direct opposite. And you've got to think of Meghan. Meghan hates the UK. She won't come here unless she gets a huge home and huge clothes and all the rest of it.
That's the reason she won't come here? I think the reason wasn't it more that she doesn't like the British people or something? I mean, I think
she doesn't like the country, and I don't think that she would want to be here. She talks in terms of global. She thinks the UK is a tiny little country, so who cares about that?
Didn't Prince Harry say the reason was that he was scared of acid attack or some sort of attack on her? That's why he didn't want to. He didn't want to bring her here.
Yeah, but that acid attack was something that is very rare, and they are looked after. We all can feel about that. I don't think that's it. I think he makes it up. I think he's not bringing her over, and certainly not the children. There's a sort of fact that the king can't see them. It's you.
Do you think
give
it's more
me
sort of blackmailing.
Yes,
in a
it's
sense?
absolutely blackmail.
That way.
I do feel that's what he's doing, because he is hardened and he wants revenge, and she wants revenge. They do feel. I think they've had a marvellous beginning, but they don't, and particularly not for Meghan, and that's not going to work,
well,
really.
What more could you possibly want? You have everything. What more could you possibly ask for?
Well, she doesn't want to be number 5 and 6 in line.
You can't change that. I mean, maybe that's what it is, but I think she was upset or something, somebody's done something, but it really is time to move on and just show some forgiveness on all sides, I think, but I
don't think so.
It's difficult with Spare.
Yes, we can. One of the things we can do is to wait till the Spare comes out in paperback, because it's quite interesting. Just as much as you can add a chapter, which I'm going to do, you can take out material. So if he takes out all the nasty things that he said about his family, then maybe that would be a big sign that it would be much better. We'll have to wait and see. I'll be looking through when it comes out.
I think it'll be just Spare on content. Angela Levin, thank you very much. That is royal biographer Angela Levin. So there you have it. Well, stay tuned. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio, 45 minutes after 3 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. Next, will Labour destroy property in this country? Find out what my panel has to say. We'll see you shortly.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It'll be back to school for many kids in the coming weeks, and my boy Jude starts school for the first time in a few weeks. Kate Stewart, who's a Liverpool entrepreneur, has just launched her annual school uniform appeal. It's an incredible initiative she set up a few years ago to ensure those who couldn't afford school uniforms for their kids can now access uniform for free. And we're delighted to be joined by Kate now. Was there any particular reason you decided to do this and help other families in the way you are?
Every child should walk through the doors in September ready to learn, focused on their learning and education, not thinking about what they're wearing or that their pants have got holes in or they haven't got brand new jumpers on.
You posted something on your social media, this incident with the Asda skirt. Somebody was not allowed to wear a skirt that looked similar to the uniform but was from Asda to help with the costs.
I've campaigned tirelessly about this. Uniforms are put in place so everybody is the same. Children are the same as their peers. No designer wear is allowed, which I agree with. But schools are making their uniforms designer by insisting that their logo must be on the uniform. Now, a uniform from a supermarket can cost £20. Children fall over, they get holes in the pants. You can go to Asda and buy a new pair of pants for £3. When they've got the logo on, you're looking at £20. Stop the logos. Let's go back to basics. A school uniform consists of grey pants, a white shirt, a red, green, whatever colour cardigan, and make it accessible for families. If the schools want the logos on, then give it to the families to iron on or sew on. That's fine. So go onto my Instagram. It's Kate Stewart Life. The link's in my bio. And please give what you can. The price of a cup of coffee will make a massive difference.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
"48 minutes after 3 o'clock. If you've just tuned in, where have you been?" Sorry, I forgive you. I'm Nana Akua. I'm glad you're here now. It's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, will Labour destroy productivity in this country? Now, the reason I ask is because the government says that it won't impose a 4-day working week, but would encourage workers to be able to ask for flexible working. Now, Labour says that it's focused on compressed hours, this is what they're calling it, allowing employees to work longer over fewer days, not reducing the total hours. The Conservatives have criticised the proposals, claiming businesses are concerned about potential costs. So what do you think? Is this realistic? Should the government be potentially mandating for companies to enable this 4-day working week, even if it's totally impractical? So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, will Labour potentially destroy productivity in this country? Well, joining me now, former Labour MP Bill Rammell and broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy. Well, I would normally come to Bill because it's a Labour question, but I'll start with you, Lizzie.
I think that Labour are going on about growth. I mean, how really 4 days a week? Are we breeding a whole nation of hermits that are going to want to stay at home, Bill? Is this what's happening? I mean, this is going to affect productivity. Of course it is. I just don't know how you're going to fit your whole, week's work into a 4-day. And it's just, I just feel we need to have people working 5 days. When we're saying 4 days, it's just like we're as I say, breeding a whole nation of hermits that aren't going to leave the house.
But Lizzie, the point here is that is it for the government to determine how an employer should conduct his working structure? Because what do they know? Every business is not the same.
It's not. I mean, why don't they just butt out of it? They're telling us to do everything, and we can't even, have a cigarette in the pub garden at the minute. Literally, it's up to the boss. Now, the employer's going to rule the roost. I think it's an absolute travesty, and it's going to affect the economy. We need growth, and to be working hard. Just ask Charlie Mullins.
Bill Rammell.
Do you know what, Lizzie? You might hold that view. The majority of the public don't agree with
Where did you get that from?
Because you look at the polling evidence, people are behind the workers' rights agenda that Labour is bringing in.
But no. There are some things in the agenda that people do agree with, and I am with you, but not all of it. Let's stay with this one.
Yeah, I'm coming on to that.
We'll stay with it. Start with it.
Flexibility in the workplace, not mandatory, can actually boost productivity. For people who've got children, for people who've got caring responsibilities, this might actually get them into the workplace in a way that the current working situation doesn't. So I think it's got real potential and can help us to move forward. There are other issues where I actually think there are real concerns. For example, since COVID, people predominantly working from home, I think is a real detriment to productivity and innovation. And I think there ought to be almost a default position that you should work in the office for at least 3 days a week.
But the Labour Party have slightly the opposite view, hasn't it? You've got a right to demand flexible working hours, or should be written in with your contract. But the point that we're making here is that the employee has the right to ask for these flexible hours. If the employer says no, we now have a legal issue because the employee can then start looking to take the employer to court.
As long as the request is reasonably looked at.
How can you check?
There is no.
How can you check?
There's no case for taking it to court. And look,
there is.
There's always been a legal
Bill, how can you check
around the responsibilities?
How can you
of employees.
check though? So let's think about the channel migrants. Somebody says they're gay, or somebody says, "Oh, I'm a Christian, I'm going to be persecuted," and then they do a few Hail Marys, and then how can you check if somebody's saying the reason why I want this 4-day working week is X and the employer says no, how can then the person decides to take the employer to court? It might be something the employer cannot check.
No, but all the employer has got to do is reasonably consider it and actually communicate that effectively, and then they've not got anything to fear.
They could be taken to court.
Exactly. This is championed by the unions, isn't it? Do you not think?
It is. Angela Rayner did put this together with the unions. Just so you know, she did.
This just before she went raving, she sorted this out. I actually think this is a real worry. We're on our knees as a country. We are broken Britain. We need people to get out there and work hard, be focused. It's good for your mind, your soul to be working. This is the last thing we need to be told. A 4-day week.
We need to rebuild Britain after 14 wasted years.
What, 4 days a week and then go and have a nap?
Hold on, they're still going to be working the same number of hours. There's still going to be the same level of productivity.
How do you do that, though? Work that into your whole week into 4 days, squash it in.
Monday to Thursday, you work longer hours than you otherwise would if you're working Monday to Friday. But I tell you what, the biggest hypocrisy is from the Tory party, who are now opposing this measure. Their 2019 manifesto said flexible working should be the default position.
Yeah, but that's
now
fine.
They're tearing that
Flexible
up.
working for the default position, yes, but that's for the employer to determine, not for an employee to be able to demand, oh, I need to have only 4 days, even though I'm going to compress the hours. It has to really be down to the employer. But what do you think? gbnews.com/your say. On the way, my niggle on Mr. Tin Man. But you might know him as Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer. Now, let's get an update with your weather. Stay tuned. Loads more still to come. gbnews.com/your say for your comments. I will read those out throughout the show. But now let's find out what it's going to be like where you are.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We're starting the weekend on a fine note across the bulk of the UK, but over the next couple of days, things turning more unsettled, increasingly humid for a while, and we'll start to see some thundery downpours developing in places too. High pressure is pulling away towards the northeast of the UK now, allowing a southeasterly feed to develop. This warm front starts to introduce more in the way of cloud from the south, particularly across parts of England and Wales as we head through the evening into the overnight period. 1 or 2 showers also breaking out from that cloud as it starts to thicken from the south, particularly towards the southeast of England later in the night. Here they could be thundery in nature, those showers, whereas towards the northwest it's clearest. We'll hold on to some good clear spells right through the night here, turning locally quite chilly with temperatures dipping into single figures, but towards the south of the UK, increasingly warm and humid, temperatures here in the mid to upper teens. So we start Sunday then on a pretty clear note towards the north and northwest of the UK. 1 or 2 mist or fog patches in places, those soon burning away to give some sunshine. Temperatures responding into the low teens by the early morning as the sun starts to get to work on those temperatures. Further south though into England and Wales, again more in the way of cloud around, still 1 or 2 showers, locally on the heavy side at this stage mainly towards the southeast of England, and again 1 or 2 of those showers could be thundery in nature. On the whole, Sunday will be a cloudier day than on Saturday. I think the best of the sunshine lingering towards the northwest of the UK there, but elsewhere a fair bit of cloud and a few showers also breaking out in places, particularly across central, southern parts of England and later across the north of England too. Some of those showers turning heavy and thundery could give 1 or 2 problems, I think, in places with some flooding issues. So the best of the lingering brightness towards the northwest of the UK. Notice though, towards the southeast it's very warm and humid. Temperatures here into the high 20s, 27 Celsius, that's 81 in Fahrenheit. A bit cooler towards the northwest in the high teens. Into Sunday evening, the showers start to migrate their way northwards, a few starting to push into Scotland as we head through Sunday evening. Elsewhere, though, we're holding on to a few clear spells. On the whole, though, the start of next week looks pretty unsettled. Showers or longer spells of rain around, perhaps turning a bit drier towards the middle part of the coming week.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
How would you like an extra £3,000 in your bank account each month for an entire year? Well, it could be yours with our £36,000 secret salary to be won. You'll get £36,000 in cash to do whatever you like with over the coming year. And the best news? It's totally tax-free, which means you'll get every penny to spend. For a chance to win £36,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network network rate message or text BONUS to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2 or post your name and number to GB08 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 25th of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria Di Piero, bringing you
PMQ's live here on GB News.
Whenever Parliament is in session on a Wednesday at midday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions. We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's live here on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. And for the next 2 hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me in the next few hours, former Labour MP Bill Rammell and also broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy. In the news today, of course, the top story has been confirmed that 2 people have died at the Notting Hill Carnival. I'll be asking, is it time to move the event? Then, in my niggle, Sir Keir Starmer claims he finds a picture of Mrs Thatcher in the Thatcher room unsettling. Forget the Iron Lady. Is Sir Keir Starmer turning out to be the Tin Man? After all, his father was a toolmaker. And in difficult conversations, ex-offender turned entrepreneur Stephen Giddlen, who spent time in jail with Charles Bronson, joins me to talk about his incredible story of rags to riches. Then, are the adults really in charge? Here's Angela Rayner clubbing in Ibiza. Her 4-day working week proposals have got employers running scared. Will Labour destroy productivity and growth in this country? But before we get started, let's get your latest news with Sophia Wensler.
Nana, thank you. Good afternoon. It's 1 minute past 4. I'm Sophia Wensler in the GB newsroom. Your top story this hour: a woman stabbed at Notting Hill Carnival while attending the event with her 3-year-old child has now died. Cher Maximum was attacked in broad daylight after she tried to intervene in a fight on Sunday. The 32-year-old was taken to hospital in a critical condition. Apologies. But despite the best efforts of medical staff, she died from her injuries. Detectives say they are working with the 32-year-old's family and providing support to make sure the child is safe and looked after. Meanwhile, a top chef attacked in a separate incident during Notting Hill Carnival has also died. Police found Musi Mnetu unconscious on the street in Queensway before paramedics arrived. A 31-year-old man has now been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. However, police are still looking for witnesses who may have seen Muzzy between 1 o'clock on Monday afternoon and the time of the attack just before 11:30 p.m. A 77-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a woman was found dead in Gloucestershire. Officers were called to a house in Fairfield Road in Cheltenham in the early hours of this morning, where they found a 66-year-old woman with serious injuries. She died at the scene. Police in the West Midlands are actively investigating the fatal stabbing of a 13-year-old boy. A murder inquiry has been launched following the tragic incident in Oldbury on Thursday, with no arrests yet made. West Midlands Police have assured the public that those responsible will be brought to justice. Chief Superintendent Kim Madill is urging residents to come forward with any information.
And we are following active lines of inquiry to find the suspects. We know that the incident took place inside his home, and I would appeal to anyone who has information to come forward. We have local officers and youth workers in the area over the coming days, so please speak to them directly if you have any concerns or information that you would like to pass to us.
In other news, travellers at Heathrow are facing disruption as Border Force staff go on strike today. Around 650 members of the PCS union have walked out in protest over rota disputes, with the strike lasting 4 days. Further disruption is expected from Wednesday as workers refuse to do overtime, leading to an overtime ban from the 4th of September. Despite the escalating tensions, the Home Office says it's committed to continuing the conversation to resolve the dispute. A newly elected Labour MP has issued a public apology over reports of serious faults in some of his London rental properties. Jas Athwal, who represents Ilford South, owns 15 flats where tenants have complained about black mould and ant infestations. He says he's shocked at the reports and vowed to take immediate action to address the issues. Now, new research reveals Ozempic might do more than fight obesity. It could also slow down ageing. In a study of over 17,000 people aged 45 and older, the anti-obesity drug semaglutide not only reduces the risk of death for the heart disease, but also cuts mortality rates from all causes. Experts say the breakthrough could have significant implications for treating obesity and extending healthy lifespan. Fighting will pause in Gaza tomorrow as part of a plan to roll out polio vaccines to hundreds and thousands of children. The scheme will be staggered during breaks in the conflict over 3 days. Last week, health officials confirmed that a baby had been paralysed by the virus, the first such case in the territory in 25 years. And the social media platform X has been banned in Brazil after a long-standing disinformation row. The move follows a feud between Elon Musk and the Brazilian Supreme Court over a failure to block accounts accused of spreading fake news and hate. In response, Elon Musk posted on X, calling the move an attack on the #1 source of truth. And parts of England could see flooding this weekend as heavy rain and thunderstorms sweep across the southwest. The Met Office have issued a yellow warning for flooding, power cuts and travel disruption. Up to 75 millimetres of rain could fall in under an hour, with lightning, hail and strong winds also posing threats. Despite the uncertainty, residents across southern and central England are being urged to stay alert for sudden, severe weather. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler, more in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good afternoon. It is fast approaching 7 minutes after 4 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Conviction politician Sir Keir Starmer is not. I suspect that's why he couldn't bear to have the image of Mrs Thatcher looking down on him. In my view, she was everything that he's not. Next to the Iron Lady, he's more like a Tin Man. Margaret Thatcher was our first ever female Prime Minister, so a woman, no penis, And she was the longest-serving Prime Minister of the 20th century. 3 terms in office Mrs Thatcher had, the Iron Lady. Being able to stand up and defend her beliefs, answer questions from those who may have held a different view, shows that she had the courage of her convictions. And I don't mean the jailing kind. Being able to take people with you or even win them over with logic and reason, that's to be respected. Since Sir Keir Starmer became Prime Minister, I, even though he was not my choice, was prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt and support the democratic vote. I use the word loosely because only about 20% of the electorate voted for him, but that's the system we've got, and more fool us if we didn't go out and use it. But with every passing press conference thus far, Keir Starmer has declined to take a question from GB News. Why? What's he afraid of? Mrs Thatcher would never have done that. She was fearless, the Iron Lady. And that's why ex-Labour leader Gordon Brown proudly commissioned a £100,000 painting of her, which sat prominently in the Thatcher room until now. Gordon unveiled the painting to the Iron Lady at a private reception in 2009. It's painted by Richard Stone, one of Britain's leading portrait artists. We've been told repeatedly by our now government and their blatantly biased supporters like Carol Vorderman that the adults are back in charge. But how childish is that? Removing an image of a 3-time election hero. When Keir was after the Tory voters, he commended her.
The rule of law is the foundation for everything. Margaret Thatcher called it the first duty of government, and she was right about that. An expression of individual liberty, our rights and responsibilities.
Seems odd that since winning over many with his rhetoric, that he can't even bear a painting in the same room. Judging by Keir's first 8 weeks and his latest missteps, like removing the winter fuel allowance from pensioners and that on independent schools, which ironically wouldn't be allowed in the EU and has failed every time it's been attempted, he'll be lucky if he lasts even 1 term, let alone 3. He's already got the civil service regulator breathing down his neck. They're about to launch a review on appointments by the party after accusations of cronyism. Jess Phillips, the Minister for Safeguarding, apparently telling people she got quicker treatment on the NHS because she voted for a ceasefire in Gaza. And now Jazz Athwell, MP for Ilford South, has been caught out renting ant-infested mouldy flats. His flats also didn't have the right licence under a scheme that he, Mr Atwell, introduced last year. So I can see why Keir clearly finds a picture of the Iron Lady, in his words, unsettling. In my view, he's intimidated. More tin than iron, methinks. He's skirted around the subject of immigration and imprisoned rioters, which I don't disagree with, but could he not apply that same gusto to hardened criminals as well, instead of emptying the jails of them? Whether you like it or not, Keir, the public have a right to be heard and have their legitimate questions answered. Hiding behind your parliamentary majority will only see you through, if you're lucky, just 1 term. If you have the courage of your convictions, Keir, and I don't mean the jailing kind, you, Keir, should be afraid of no one. Removing a picture of an iconic woman tells me everything I need to know. But it's OK, folks. The adults are back in charge. Yes. Well, stay tuned. Loads more still to come on GB News. Before we get stuck into the debate, here's what else is coming up today. It's been confirmed this afternoon that 2 people have died at the Notting Hill Carnival. I'll be asking, is it time to remove the event from its current location? Also, earlier this week, Sir Keir Starmer confirmed that the government is looking at tougher rules on outdoor smoking. And for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is the smoking ban a big distraction from winter fuel payments? And don't forget, in the pulse, stay tuned for this. I'll be speaking to a healthcare expert about Ozempic, as researchers have found that the obesity drug could also slow down the process of ageing. Bring it to me now. That's coming up in the next hour. As ever, your thoughts, your comments, gbnews.com/your say. Right, let's get started. Let's welcome again to my panel former Labour leader. You weren't, Bill Rammell. Well, you were a leader, minister. Somebody's put a leader there. And also broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy. Bill Rammell, I'm going to start with you. It's fair to say that, removing a picture of Mrs Thatcher, seriously.
I think there's a lesson out of that. It's don't inadvertently pick a fight that you don't need. Now, Keir had every right, as does every minister and Prime Minister, to choose which paintings from the government art collection they have in their place of work. That's what he was doing. I think he probably didn't want any Prime Minister looking down on him whilst he was working.
Why?
Because, you know, it's about the new era, it's about moving forward. But...
Would he have not seen himself that he is in the same lineage, in a sense, as Mrs Thatcher?
Should be honoured.
Well, hold on. Let me finish. Whilst I think he's got every right to do, whilst he's got every right to do what he did, I think it ends up as a distraction from the narrative of change that he and the government rightly want to project.
Do you think maybe he was doing that on purpose for the distraction, to get out for the winter fuel payments?
No,
we don't talk about that.
He's not the person who released this story. It's Tom Baldwin, his biographer. And I think this is for want of a better phrase, an inadvertent cock-up, and I think we could do without it.
Yeah,
Lizzie,
and Margaret Thatcher will be turning in her grave, not just because her portrait's been taken down, but what he's actually doing to this country. In power 57 days, and what a mess, I have to say. I think this removal of her portrait says a lot about him. I think it's disgraceful, I think it's disrespectful, I think it's petty, and I actually think it's sexist. A man who's that easily intimidated, it just amazes me. He's our Prime Minister. He must lack some confidence that he's worried. Do you know what my worry is? He's in for another 5 years. The man that can't look at Margaret Thatcher's picture, he could take a lot off Margaret Thatcher with her strength.
Can I just ask you, do you think, Bill, that this... I mean, remember, it took him a while to say whether a woman doesn't have a penis or not. He struggled to describe what a woman is. Do you think that maybe there's some sort of other issues regarding women? I mean, that's just my thought. I'm asking, because she's a woman and she's up there.
I think he's an absolute champion of women's rights. However...
He couldn't answer, though, the question.
Let's not rewrite history. I've got respect for Thatcher, but she was actually enormously divisive, and millions of people in this country opposed her. Yes, respect, and compared to her Tory successors that we've seen over the last 14 years, she's an absolute giant and a statesperson. But, you know, not without her critics, and I don't think we should set her up as the be-all and end-all.
Nobody's setting her up for the be-all and end-all, but, you know, Gordon Brown was the person who commissioned the picture. He's a Labour person.
Yeah.
And he was able to, with respect, look at her and say, this woman has completed 3 terms. You know, if there was a picture of Tony Blair, as much as I voted for Tony Blair many years ago anyway, for the first few terms anyway, not the last one.
Look,
but, you know, you should be able to deal with that.
You don't have to agree with her policies, but have respect. I know the Thatcher family, I know Mark Thatcher. They are absolutely appalled by this, and I think it's a huge, huge error, Bill, and it says a lot about this man. And we're seeing now the real Keir Starmer.
Well, look, he has got respect for her. You know, last year he actually talked about his respect as someone brought about meaningful and lasting change.
He's trying to get votes.
No, about freeing the entrepreneurial spirit of British people. So I think he has got respect. I think this is a cock-up, and I think with hindsight he wouldn't do it again.
Well, he's supposed to be Captain Hindsight, so maybe he's looking back now. But it's not a very good look, Keir. But Downing Street House refused to say what it's done with Margaret Thatcher's portrait after Sir Keir Starmer had it removed from her former study. But let's see. We'll find out more about that. We'll bring you a statement for that too. But let's come back to our top story this hour. 32-year-old mother and a man who were attacked in 2 separate incidents over the Notting Hill Carnival weekend have died. Now, the Metropolitan Police said that Cher Maximum, who had been at the Carnival last Sunday with her 3-year-old daughter, died in hospital this morning. And separately, Musi Imentu, who worked as a chef and was found unconscious on Monday evening near Notting Hill. He's also died from his injuries. Well, speaking to my panel, former Labour Minister Bill Remmell and also broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy. Lizzie, is it time to move Notting Hill Carnival?
Most definitely, most definitely. And I just want to say I'm so sorry to all the families. I mean, Musi was working in Dubai.
So you know the chef?
I know of the chef, yeah. A great young talent, came to visit, was working in Dubai at the restaurant restaurant Sexy Fish, which is very well known, and had a huge career. I was hoping to go into TV. I absolutely am heartbroken for them and their families, the loss of life to young people being snatched away. This carnival has to stop. 334 arrests, up by 275 from last year. 50 officers injured, 3 firearms recovered, 49 arrests with weapons, 8 stabbings, 2 deaths. How much more? It has to stop.
I'm still waiting for something from Mayor Khan, but Bill Rummel.
Yeah, like Lizzie, I feel this personally. You know, the mother who's got a 3-year-old child. My youngest grandson is 3. If something like this happened to his mum, he would be utterly devastated.
Of course.
It is awful, and my heart goes out to them. But we do need some context. There are over 1 million people who attend the Notting Hill Carnival. If you look at the annual crime rate in Notting Hill, and that includes the festival, it's in the average of local authority areas within the country. However, the circumstances and conditions of the carnival are so compressed within a narrow area of London. I think there is a case for moving it to Hyde Park or somewhere else where it can be more effectively policed.
Yeah, because I wrote a piece in the Daily Mail last year and everyone said, oh, somebody told you to write that because of what I said. No, nobody told me to write it and I wrote it. I'm very pleased with what I said in there. And it was basically saying that Carnival should be moved. And I can't bear to watch people running around with machetes. I mean, last year there was a video of people just running around with machetes as though...
Well, we need to ban the machetes.
I mean, they need to ban them, but
you wouldn't get in, would you, if it was in a closed environment?
No, and my friends that actually do live in Notting Hill have to leave the area. They're boarded up, and on their cameras, everyone is going to the toilet on their property. Yeah. It's absolutely disgusting and a disgrace. But what has gone on here? How many more lives have to be lost? What is our Mayor of London doing?
Where is he?
Where is he? Where's his voice now?
Have you heard Sadiq Khan say anything about this? I mean, I'm waiting to hear something. I don't know whether we have a statement.
I think he has made a statement, but, you know, the reality is if you have over 1 million people in a tightly confined area, you are going to have a very small minority who commit crimes. Now, 1, we need to tackle those crimes, but 2, I think there is a strong case to move it somewhere else.
I think Hyde Park's a great idea. I think Hyde Park's a great idea, but can I say with the Mayor of London, he was pushed into talking to this by GB News because he didn't actually mention the stabbings and the death, and I think that's a disgrace.
Do you know, stabbings are a huge problem across the country, not just in London. Actually, in the Midlands, the problem is even worse. And I tell you the real tragedy, virtually every crime, the numbers have gone down in the last 30 years under successive governments, with the exception of knife crime, which has gone up exponentially since 2015, and we've got to tackle that.
Well, we do, Bill, and I think it's a lot more important than doing a big thing about smoking outside in beer gardens. The government needs to concentrate on this.
You need to do everything.
Well, you need to do everything, but you need to do something now. And I'm not hearing enough action from those in power. And I'm hoping that Keir Starmer will do something about this as well. I hope he does punish those who...
Well, we've already made it clear the weapons that we are going to ban. We're bringing forward legislation. There needs to be a default position that any young person convicted of carrying a knife gets some form of sentence, whether it's tagging, whether it's curfews, or whether it's actually imprisonment.
But sadly, Bill, the punishment, he's letting people out early. They know they're not going to get prosecuted.
But, come on, Lizzie, we faced a crisis inherited from the last government. Rishi Sunak...
Oh, hold on, no, stop, no, you hold on. I don't want to hear about the crisis from the last government. I want to hear what's happening now. I'm not interested. We know about the crisis of the last government. They are scraping around, still arguing with each other. We're not interested in that. The Labour Party are in government. That's what we want to hear about.
And do you know what? The Labour Party are not superhuman. And if you inherit a situation where the previous Prime Minister had been repeatedly told you either build more prison places or you agree to early release, and he did nothing about it, you can't in 8 weeks solve that problem.
Let me just quickly remind you, Tony Blair didn't rebuild any buildings. He knew they were crumbling, the prisons and schools.
OK, well, so what do you think? GBNews.com/your say. Should Notting Hill Carnival be moved to another location next, though? It's time for the Great British Debate this hour. We were talking about smoking and asking, is the ban a big distraction from winter fuel payments?
I'm Patrick Christie's. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Prince Harry also revealed that he wouldn't bring his wife Meghan Markle back to the UK over safety concerns.
Let's talk to royal correspondent Michael Cole.
Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Ellie. I mean, they live in California. I'm not sure what the murder rate is there, but that's a more dangerous place than Britain's at any time of the day. And of course, he compromised his own safety when he said in his book, Spare, his autobiography, which was Ghost Britain, that he'd personally killed 25 Taliban when he was serving with the British Army in Afghanistan. Well, that painted a target for life on the back of himself and his family, which was a very unwise thing for him to do. The other thing which struck me, it was that he invoked the name of the late Queen, saying that he'd had several conversations with his grandmother, and she'd been very, very supportive in his battle. He sees himself, and it's the word he's used, as a dragon slayer against the popular press, the tabloid press, and he's continuing with that. Of course, his brother, Prince William, has settled, but also in the programme was Hugh Grant. Now, Hugh Grant also has settled, as indeed did I, when I received an apology from News Group. I believe in a free and unfettered press. Newspapers are having a bad time at the moment, losing circulation, losing advertising. Young people don't read newspapers. And so I felt that the right thing to do was to settle. I didn't want to take punitive action against newspapers.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Ellie Costello, and thank you so much for joining us here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, good afternoon. You're with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Now, we were discussing Carnival. Lots of you have been getting in touch with your views. Catherine says, as a public health issue, along Nottingham Carnival should be reconsidered, urinating and whatever else. That is a good point. Jeffrey says Notting Hill Carnival should be moved to a bigger area. Bran says Notting Hill Kensington gets all the income. And I see nobody considered that. Move it to Hyde Park and it all goes to Westminster. I think there'll be an argument over that. Interesting. Mark says to you, Bill, and Bill, you shouldn't dismiss the fact that London is a serious knife crime problem by saying, but it's across the UK. How does that make it better or make London seem good? I'll give you 10 seconds.
I'm not dismissing it, but this is a really serious problem that is just not centred on London, and sometimes the debate suggests that it is. It's much more difficult, much more challenging, and we need to tackle it across the board.
There have been 2 deaths. It needs to stop.
OK, and then Colin says, how many more innocent people have to die before we reintroduce the death penalty? That's a bit of a curveball, but I don't disagree with you, actually. I'm with you on that one. I agree with that. You disagree?
Yeah, I voted
well, if
against
somebody
the death
definitely
penalty.
did it.
I do not believe in putting the power in the hands of the state to take someone's life. You make
if it
mistakes.
was your child, you might think differently.
If
it was your child.
Of course,
Yeah,
emotionally,
exactly.
people have a different view. But, you know, what's interesting is whatever views they entered with, MPs of all parties have consistently voted against the death penalty because it's on their conscience.
Well, because it's not happened to their children, that's why. I think that's why.
No, because it's on their conscience.
No, listen, I'll press any button if somebody's done something really bad and they've been caught to definitely have done it. I'm happy to press the button and make sure the person is executed. It would be on my conscience that I've saved other lives.
What about miscarriages of justice?
No, when you've seen them actually do it. I mean, like, if you have any... If there's any...
the world's not like that.
No, but there is. But the world is. We have phones, we have all these things going on now so we can see. And these particular people, the person... I can't talk about this particular case, but my point is this. On many of these instances where we actually know the person has done it, and there's no question... Hang on, okay. I'm talking. There's no question of a doubt. I have no problem. I've answered your question, but listen, I did say that Mayor Khan, I hadn't heard from him, so this is a statement. Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, released this statement on the deaths at the Notting Hill Carnival moments ago. He said, it is heartbreaking that Cher Maxim and Musi Imnetu have died after being attacked in separate incidents over the bank holiday weekend. My thoughts are with their families and friends at this truly terrible time. This violence is shocking, completely unacceptable, and a betrayal of the values that Carnival was founded to celebrate. Thanks to the efforts of our hard-working police, a 20-year-old man and a 31-year-old man have already been charged. I urge anyone with any information to contact the police on 101, or you can anonymously contact independent charity Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. Right, so that's his thoughts. He has come out with that statement. But right now it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I am asking, is the smoking ban a distraction from the winter fuel payments that have been denied to pensioners? Because earlier this week, Sir Keir Starmer confirmed that the government is looking for tougher rules on outdoor smoking to reduce the number of preventable deaths linked to tobacco use. And the Prime Minister said that the government had to take action to reduce the burden on the NHS. Sir Keir Starmer has also confirmed pensioners' worst fears that there'll be no U-turn on his decision to remove the winter fuel payment. So, for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is this smoking ban a big distraction from the winter fuel payments? Smoke and mirrors. Well, joining me now, Lizzie Cundy and also Bill Rammell. Bill Rammell.
Well, no. If it was a deliberate distraction, Labour would have initiated this debate, and they didn't. This was an announcement for later on in the year, and it was leaked to the Sun newspaper. And I actually think on the substance, when 80,000 people a year are dying from smoking, it's the right way forward. And public opinion is ahead of the politicians. A Snap poll yesterday, 58% of people, as opposed to 31%, support the wider ban. And that was my experience when I actually voted for the first ban in 2007.
Let me tell you where I am with it. I would ban smoking outright, full stop. But 80,000 people as opposed to millions of pensioners who are going to potentially freeze this Christmas.
This is all a smokescreen, and we know it is. Look at what they're doing to our pensioners. 10 million of them taking that winter fuel allowance. And no wonder they didn't give us any policies, the Labour Party, before the election, because I don't think anyone would have actually voted for them, Bill. It absolutely... What's going to be next? Are you going to take away alcohol? Is it going to be fishing? Anything we love, anything we enjoy. And, yeah, I don't smoke. I don't agree with smoking. But to be told you can't smoke outside in a pub garden, there are more pressing, worrying issues with this country at the minute. You know this is a smokescreen, Bill, and we're not stupid. And you know what? We're adults. We can decide. And you know what? I actually think this is going to really affect the hospitality business, the pubs, and people that are going out to enjoy themselves. As Glenys says, from Bristol, you're going to tax us next on the fresh air.
Well, I tell you what, I don't often quote Tim Martin from Wetherspoons in aid, but he said this is going to have virtually no impact. And, you know,
because they don't have gardens at Wetherspoons.
Only 1 in 10 people smoke. If you're building your business model on 10% of the population, you're on dodgy ground. And actually, smokers adapt. They did after the last smoking ban, and they'll do it again.
You'll find that many who I know that smoke won't come out, and that will affect the hospitality business. And he's trying to say, grow, 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 let's grow this economy. Well, you know, he's hurting the hospitality business.
That was exactly the claim that was made in 2007, and it didn't materialise.
You want to live in a nanny state? I don't. I think we can make our own decisions.
I think, Bill, 2007, the economy was flourishing. It was just a little bit after that we then had the subprime fiasco with the banks. But around about 2007, the economy... Hang on. The economy was in a good state in 2007, and then obviously the fiasco with the banks. So I don't know whether they're comparative moments, but we have had COVID, we have loads of other things. So for this particular scenario, it might not be the best thing to do.
No, well, I think it's manageable. Let me pick
it's trying to detract from what...
Let me pick up Lizzie's point about the nanny state, because I was an MP, and, you know, the 2007 ban, it's not a party issue, it was a free vote, and I thought long and hard about whether to support it, and I was concerned that it maybe went too far, and, you know, the accusations of the nanny state. Before the vote, I did a poll of my local constituents. 70% of them supported the ban. So I think the public are in a different place to politicians and media commentators.
I don't think you're giving the public enough, because they're intelligent enough. If they want to have a cigarette outside, they should be allowed to. That's part of their freedoms. Did you not hear Glynis, what she said to Keir Starmer, which I thought was very profound, and I actually agree with, because you're taking away things, it might not be good for us, but what we actually enjoy. And we don't, you know, drinking's not good for you. What's going to happen there? This is one step. It's a slippery slope.
Lizzie, but smoking is bad for you. And actually, at the end of the day, if like I said, I would be quite happy to see it banned. I don't really care. But I don't like people breathing their smoke. I don't like the vapes when I'm sitting there eating my meal. I don't want that. I don't want that. But the point of this discussion is this a distraction? 80,000 people, Bill has pointed out, whose lives could be saved, yet millions of pensioners will be
freezing
this winter.
It's a total distraction, and what they've done to the pensioners is an absolute disgrace. It is an absolute 10 million pensioners. Do you know what? They wouldn't have voted. And no wonder he didn't give any policies. No wonder.
Let's deal with the substance of the winter fuel allowance. Briefly. And remember how it came in the late 1980s after the 75 pence increase.
Are we going backwards in time?
No, we're not. Because since then, you've had the triple lock on pensions, which means that pensioners are less likely to be in poverty than the general working population.
Less likely, but they're still freeze. Listen, Bill Rambo, I hear you, but listen, I will not let this go with regard to the winter fuel allowance. We will continue to talk about it until there is some sort of actual acknowledgement that is totally unfair on pensioners, and any smokescreen that comes our way, we will move it out and we'll carry on talking about it till there is a proper conversation. Rachel Reeve apparently didn't even consult with the necessary bodies about it, and I don't think it's fair that they should just be pushing through policy because they have a parliamentary majority, and we're in the sleepy season. We're coming back, Parliament is coming back next week, so I'm looking forward to the MPs challenging Keir Starmer on that one. But stay tuned, all of that is on the way. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. The Pulse is up next. A healthcare expert says that Ozempic could potentially prolong youth. My God, bring it here. First, let's get your latest news headlines with Sophia Wensler.
Nana, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Sophia Wensler with your headlines at 4:33. A woman stabbed at Notting Hill Carnival while attending the event with her 3-year-old child has now died. Cher Maximan was attacked in broad daylight after she tried to intervene in a fight on Sunday. The 32-year-old was taken to hospital in a critical condition, but despite best efforts of medical staff, she died from her injuries. Detectives say they are working with the 32-year-old's family and providing support to make sure the child is safe and looked after. Meanwhile, a top chef attacked in a separate incident during Notting Hill Carnival has also died. Police found Musi Mnetu unconscious on the street in Queensway before paramedics arrived. A 31-year-old man has been charged with GBH. However, police are still looking for witnesses who may have seen Musi between 1 o'clock on Monday afternoon and the time of the attack just before 11:30 p.m. A pensioner is being questioned on suspicion of murder following the incident in Cheltenham. Gloucestershire police were called to a property in the early hours of this morning where they found a 66-year-old woman with serious injuries. She died at the scene. Teacherless classrooms with pupils being taught by AI are being trialled at a London school this year. A class of 20 GCSE students at David Game College will spend the year learning from bots. The school says the tech will pinpoint the areas pupils need help with, but head teachers say education should not be taken out of the educators' hands. And some breaking news. US rapper Fat Man Scoop has died at the age of 53. That's according to his tour manager. The artist, whose real name was Isaac Freeman, had been taken to hospital after collapsing on stage during a performance in Connecticut in the US on Friday. In a statement, his management, MN2S, said, "We are heartbroken to announce the passing of our dear friend and client." Scoop had success around the world and topped the UK singles chart in 2003 with Be Faithful. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler. More in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We're starting the weekend on a fine note across the bulk of the UK, but over the next couple of days, things turning more unsettled, increasingly humid for a while, and we'll start to see some thundery downpours developing in places too. High pressure is pulling away towards the northeast of the UK now, allowing a southeasterly feed to develop. This warm front starts to introduce more in the way of cloud from the south, particularly across parts of England and Wales as we head through the evening into the overnight period. One or two showers also breaking out from that cloud as it starts to thicken from the south, particularly towards the southeast of England later in the night. Here there could be thunder in nature, those showers, whereas towards the northwest it's clearest. We'll hold on to some good clear spells right through the night here, turning locally quite chilly with temperatures dipping into single figures, but towards the south of the UK, increasingly warm and humid, temperatures here in the mid to upper teens. So we start Sunday then on a pretty clear note towards the north and northwest of the UK. One or two mist or fog patches in places, those soon burning away to give some sunshine. Temperatures responding into the low teens by the early morning as the sun starts to get to work on those temperatures. Further south though into England and Wales, again more in the way of cloud around, still one or two showers, locally on the heavy side at this stage mainly towards the southeast of England, and again one or two of those showers could be thundery in nature. On the whole, Sunday will be a cloudier day than on Saturday. I think the best of the sunshine lingering towards the northwest of the UK there, but elsewhere a fair bit of cloud and a few showers also breaking out in places, particularly across central, southern parts of England and later across the north of England too. Some of those showers turning heavy and thundery could give one or two problems, I think, in places with some flooding issues. So the best of the lingering brightness towards the northwest of the UK. Notice though, towards the southeast it's very warm and humid. Temperatures here into the high 20s, 27 Celsius, that's 81 in Fahrenheit. A bit cooler towards the northwest in the high teens. Into Sunday evening, the showers start to migrate their way northwards, a few starting to push into Scotland as we head through Sunday evening. Elsewhere, though, we're holding on to a few clear spells. On the whole, though, the start of next week looks pretty unsettled. Showers or longer spells of rain around, perhaps turning a bit drier towards the middle part of the coming week.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria Di Piero, bringing you
PMQs live here on GB News.
Whenever Parliament is in session on a Wednesday at midday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions. We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQs live here on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. If you just tuned in, welcome. This is GB News. We are Britain's news channel. I'm Nana Akua, 39 minutes after 4 o'clock, and it's time now for The Pulse, where I get a chance to speak to health professionals on the latest medical breakthroughs. And this week, Ozempic has hit the screens. Researchers have found that Ozempic, which is used to treat type 2 diabetes and obesity, could also slow down the process of ageing. What? What is it? It was also revealed that the drug could be used to treat the wide range of illnesses linked to heart failure, arthritis, Alzheimer's and even cancer. So should they open up Ozempic to everyone? For the Great British Debate this hour, that's what I'm asking. What do you think? Joining me now is Health and Social Affairs Editor of the Sunday Express, Lucy Johnston. Lucy, get me some of that Ozempic. I mean, that's how I'm feeling about it. I've seen Ozempic face. It doesn't look good with people who suddenly lost lots of weight. I don't need any appetite suppressants, but autoimmune illnesses and things like that. Surely people would benefit from this.
Well, on the face of it, it does look amazing, doesn't it? And this was released at a conference recently. And we do have in our population, 2/3 of us are overweight or obese. And it costs the NHS billions of pounds a year to treat conditions linked to obesity, which are cancer and heart disease and other problems. However, experts I've spoken to about this study today, or these studies today, are very cautious about their response. For a start, it was released as part of conference notes, really, and none of the experts I spoke to were able to get hold of the raw data. So how much are we really seeing that it's increasing longevity? How much can it reduce your risk of these illnesses? And have to remember that Ozempic's only been on the market since 2018 and not to treat being people overweight. Was initially used for just diabetes. So we're in the early stages of this drug, and we do know already that it is linked to some serious side effects. So it includes kidney failure, thyroid cancer, inflammation of the pancreas, vision problems, and real problems with the stomach, with stomach paralysis and bowel obstruction. And in fact, 2 out of 3 people that take it stop within a year, according to some studies. So that it's not without risks. And one has to be questioning whether, whether we should really be looking at a silver bullet to treat what is one of society's big complicated problems. And how do we sort of do we need to look at our toxic food environment, which is, we have a lot of unhealthy, nutrition poor foods, junk foods everywhere you go, and the supermarket aisles are full of those. So we really need to look at that as well, rather than just think we can treat our way out of it.
Well, obviously, I wouldn't advise people to take it without speaking to the relevant people and your doctor putting you on it. I don't think, I personally wouldn't trust anything on the black market. It would have to be something that was prescribed. But you said that it has only sort of come out. This particular type of drug has been out for many years. It's just specifically for the purpose of weight loss is why, as I understand. So my thoughts are this. They are saying that they may sort of work out how to deal with a lot of the side effects that you have put forward, which I know are absolutely valid, and one of the reasons why, if I'm honest, I really wouldn't take them. But if there was some way of it reducing inflammation, assisting with cancer and all those things, are they definitely looking into that? Because I think they should.
Well, I agree with you. I wasn't saying that there's no place for this drug. It's the fact that it's being sold as a wonder drug, and the way it's written up is something that is a longevity, we can cure all things. And I'm just cautious about that. But of course, if you have been prescribed it and it is, the benefits of the drug are outweighing the potential harms, then that's the clincher, really. That's what we need to be looking at. And that's the real it only would be a doctor to decide. But the thing is that people are, buying it online, buying it from online pharmacies, perhaps ticking boxes that they wouldn't, shouldn't otherwise tick. It needs to be proper doctors looking at people and looking at their profiles, and including lifestyle changes as well. This drug, once you stop taking it, and presumably the longer you take it, perhaps the more at risk you are of side effects, the weight just comes back on. So lifestyle is important too.
Yeah. Well, listen, Lucy, thank you very much. Really good to hear you. And thanks for giving us some clarity on some of those so-called life-changing effects of Ozempic for those of us normal people who haven't managed to become obese but want to live forever. Thank you very much, Lucy Johnson. Lovely to speak to you. Right, well, you're with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. More on that debate. I'm asking, should Ozempic be opened up to everyone? Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
With record temperatures expected this week, how do zoos keep their cooler creatures cold? Well, at Yorkshire Wildlife Park, the polar bears are enjoying a vegetable ice block.
Polar bears, they do have quite a variety of different temperatures that they naturally do find. Once they're moving off these polar ice caps, they are in the likes of down in the areas of Canada, Hudson Bay. Naturally, they were finding polar bears in 35-degree temperatures year upon year. So they are very much used to warm temperatures and heat waves as such. What you'll tend to find is they'll go for a good swim and then go for a snooze in the shade thereafter.
Not wanting to miss out, the sea lions are treated to a huge fish lolly.
In the hot weather, it's really important to give them ice because these guys, they don't drink salt water. These pools are actually saltwater pools. They actually drink fresh water. They've got 2 freshwater pools in their house, but again, being able to provide that in their outside enclosure is also really important. So offering them ice with their fish is not only enriching, but it's actually beneficial to their welfare as well.
Other animals like the lemurs will be basking in the sun, but also cooling down with frozen sweet potato.
So we've got 3 different species of lemur here. They come in all different shapes, colours, sizes, but they are native to Madagascar. Madagascar can get quite hot, understandably, so throughout the cold months here in Yorkshire, we do give them a nice heated house all year round, but especially making sure it's nice and warm in the winter for them. And it does mean that in the hot spells as well that we're able to keep our eyes on them and try and give them things that make them a bit more comfortable with that incoming hot weather as well.
The frozen food on offer here certainly has the seal of approval on what could be the hottest day of the year.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon. If you just tuned in, where have you been? This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Welcome. I'm Nana Akua. It's coming up to 48 minutes after 4 o'clock, and I'm asking you, should they open Ozempic up to everybody? Because researchers have found that Ozempic, which is used to treat type 2 diabetes and obesity, could also slow down the process of ageing. It was also revealed that the drug could be used to treat a wide range of illnesses linked to heart failure, arthritis, Alzheimer's and even cancer. So, obviously, lots more testing needed to be done, but for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should they open this thing up to everyone? Well, joining me now to discuss my panel, broadcaster Lizzie Cundy and also former Labour Minister Bill Rummel. Bill Rummel, what do you think? You've told me you've lost about 3 stone or something recently over time. Would you be tempted to take Ozempic?
Well, yeah, I have lost that weight. I'm challenged by my weight. I was tempted by Ozempic, but I personally don't think there's enough research on it yet for possible side effects. I also think with these broader health benefits, I mean, there could be some real advantages. You know, it's about prevention. It could actually save the NHS money. But what worries me is the National Institute for Clinical Excellence, which ultimately will make the judgment about whether this can be affordable on the NHS. Is its cost-benefit analysis rigorous enough to make those decisions? And I'm not convinced it is.
Interesting stuff. Although, you know, Ozempic, if it does prove to be quite a useful thing, could be an interesting drug. Lizzie?
I think there isn't enough research on it. I know people that are on it that get addicted to it. They can't get off it. And sadly, there are a lot of people that are using it that I know that aren't actually overweight or have any medical problems. Now, look, I've talked openly about having an eating disorder when I was younger, and I think you've got to be very careful with this. It's a slippery slope, and I know people are getting this willy-nilly, and I am worried. And I've seen friends that look terrible on it. They said it can, you know, help anti-ageing. Well, believe me, the people I know that are on it
they don't look younger, do
like,
they?
you know, the weight hasn't actually gone from where they want it. Parts of their body, it's definitely gone from their face, and they look much older. I think this is very frightening. It should be used for the right reasons, for diabetes, but not used willy-nilly. And sadly, a lot of people are using it that aren't actually overweight.
All right. Well, you know, some of these people may have been people who said, I'm not taking the vaccine, I wouldn't touch it, it's not been tested enough. Then they're onto this. Mind you, Ozempic has been around for a while, though, to be fair. But look, this show's nothing without you and your views. Welcome our great British voices, their opportunity to be on the show and tell us what they think about the topics we're discussing. Oh, I've got Mark Sheridan, he's there from Chester, and Julie Shaw from Bridlington. Mark Sheridan, I'm going to start with you. Ozempic, do they need to open it up to all of us now?
No, I don't think they do. And we all know that in this country we've got a massive problem with obesity. The queue for diet pills and this wonder drug will always be full, but the queue for making lifestyle changes is empty. If I was a doctor now, I would look at this and say, OK, the BMI on people is phenomenal. You know, over 28% means people are obese. They need to use this, that if they're going to issue this out to obese people, then put them on a fitness program, put them on a diet program.
Well, they've tried all that.
This is only a short-term fix. As Lucy said earlier, the massive side effects that this has is phenomenal. You know, kidney failure, heart failure. And also it mentions that when you lose weight unnaturally, because many years ago I was a fitness instructor, one of my clients lost weight with tablets and not doing it naturally, but skin hangs. And this has got an effect where they have wrinkles on the face.
Yeah, that's the problem, is it? Julie Shaw, thank you for that, Mark. Julie Shaw.
I think we're focusing too much on the obesity side. And this is a multifunctional drug and serves a lot higher purpose than just helping people lose weight. But of course this government don't want it. They want to kill off an ailing and ageing population and not prolong lives. And just like the Alzheimer's wonder drug that they won't make available for our elderly, I just think that they're not going to do it because they don't want to do it. If they can't kill off our elderly this winter by freezing or starving them to death, they'll make damn sure they won't give them any drugs that's going to prolong their lives.
Well, you know, but then Keir Starmer has talked about smoking and the outside smoking ban and things like that. And he is talking tough about saving lives in the NHS. You know, and obviously we wouldn't urge anyone to take this drug without proper supervision or the right, you know, GP confirming that you need to take it. And listen, it's really interesting to hear your thoughts. Julie Shaw in Bridlington, thank you. And also Mark Sheridan there in Chester. What do you think? gbnews.com/your say. Lots of you have been in touch on all the different subjects that we've been talking about. Mark Jones says it's not a distraction to many pensioners and the public. They clearly see it for what it is, and it's just wrong. This is about the winter fuel allowance and the smoking ban. Christine calls it a house of cards and a great look inside politics. These programmes only pretend, but I don't know what that means, my dear. Catherine says this. She says, when I hear about the hit on pensioners, I think about Labour giving 11+ billion to foreign countries for climate aid. Yeah, a lot of people were hearing that too. Sylvie says that, Lizzie, you're 100% right. Alcohol is next. That's what she thinks. Coral says the English pub is part of our culture. This government would love to close them all. Well, just to repeat to you again, obviously, Ozempic is, if you do think you need to take that drug, go and see a GP first. Get them to tell you. Don't try and get it on the black market. And also, all these wonderful things, nothing comes without the downfalls, as you heard from Lucy. But if you just tuned in, 54 minutes after 4 o'clock, I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. On the way, Stephen Gillen will be joining me with his story. But first, let's get the weather.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We're starting the weekend on a fine note across the bulk of the UK, but over the next couple of days, things turning more unsettled, increasingly humid for a while, and we'll start to see some thundery downpours developing in places too. High pressure is pulling away towards the northeast of the UK now, allowing a southeasterly feed to develop. This warm front starts to introduce more in the way of cloud from the south, particularly across parts of England and Wales as we head through the evening into the overnight period. 1 or 2 showers also breaking out from that cloud as it starts to thicken from the south, particularly towards the southeast of England later in the night. Here there could be thundery in nature, those showers, whereas towards the northwest it's clearest. We'll hold on to some good clear spells right through the night here, turning locally quite chilly with temperatures dipping into single figures, but towards the south of the UK, increasingly warm and humid, temperatures here in the mid to upper teens. So we start Sunday then on a pretty clear note towards the north and northwest of the UK. One or two mist or fog patches in places, those soon burning away to give some sunshine. Temperatures responding into the low teens by the early morning as the sun starts to get to work on those temperatures. Further south though into England and Wales, again more in the way of cloud around. Still one or two showers, locally on the heavy side at this stage mainly towards the southeast of England. And again one or two of those showers could be thundery in nature. On the whole, Sunday will be a cloudier day than on Saturday. I think the best of the sunshine lingering towards the northwest of the UK there, but elsewhere a fair bit of cloud and a few showers also breaking out in places, particularly across central, southern parts of England and later across the north of England too. Some of those showers turning heavy and thundery could give one or two problems, I think, in places with some flooding issues. So the best of the lingering brightness towards the northwest of the UK. Notice though, towards the southeast it's very warm and humid. Temperatures here into the high 20s, 27 Celsius, that's 81 in Fahrenheit. A bit cooler towards the northwest in the high teens. Into Sunday evening, the showers start to migrate their way northwards, a few starting to push into Scotland as we head through Sunday evening. Elsewhere, though, we're holding on to a few clear spells. On the whole, though, the start of next week looks pretty unsettled. Showers or longer spells of rain around, perhaps turning a bit drier towards the middle part of the coming week.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
This is your chance to win a £36,000 secret salary in the latest Great British Giveaway. That's like having £3,000 each month for an entire year. Extra cash in your bank account that you can do whatever you like with. Take a year off and keep it to yourself. You don't even need to tell the taxman, as it's totally tax-free. For a chance to win £36,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB08 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 25th of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon. It's 5 o'clock. Welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. And for the next hour, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me today, former Labour MP Bill Rammell, and also broadcaster and author Lizzie Cundy. Well, coming up, it's been confirmed that 2 people have died at the Notting Hill Carnival. Now, I'll be asking, is it time to move the event? And this hour, my difficult conversation, ex-offender turned entrepreneur Stephen Gillen. He spent time in jail with Charles Bronson. He joins me to talk about his incredible story of rags to riches. Then, for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, can Priti Patel save the Tory party? Before we get started, let's get your latest news with Sophia Wensler.
Nana, thank you. Good afternoon from the GB Newsroom. It's just gone 5 o'clock. Your top story this hour. A woman stabbed at Notting Hill Carnival while attending the event with her 3-year-old child has now died. Cher Maximen was attacked in broad daylight after she tried to intervene in a fight on Sunday. The 32-year-old was taken to hospital in a critical condition, but despite best efforts of medical staff, she died from her injuries. Detectives say they are working with the 32-year-old's family and providing support to make sure the child is safe and looked after. Meanwhile, the top chef attacked in a separate incident during Notting Hill Carnival has also died. Police found Muzi Mnetu unconscious on the street in Queensway before paramedics arrived. A 31-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. However, police are still looking for witnesses who may have seen Muzi between 1 o'clock on Monday afternoon and the time of the attack just before 11:30 p.m. Police in the West Midlands are actively investigating the fatal stabbing of a 13-year-old boy. A murder inquiry has been launched following the tragic incident in Oldbury on Thursday, with no arrests yet made. West Midlands Police have assured the public that those responsible will be brought to justice. Chief Superintendent Kim Madill is urging residents to come forward with any information.
And we are following active lines of inquiry to find the suspects. We know that the incident took place inside his home, and I would appeal to anyone who has information to come forward. We have local officers and youth workers in the area over the coming days, so please speak to them directly if you have any concerns or information that you would like to pass to us.
In other news, travellers at Heathrow are facing disruption as Border Force staff go on strike today. Around 650 members of the PCS union have walked out in a protest over rota disputes, with the strike lasting 4 days. Further disruption is expected from Wednesday as workers refuse to do overtime, leading to an overtime ban from the 4th of September. Despite the escalating tensions, the Home Office says it's committed to continuing the conversation to resolve the dispute. A newly elected Labour MP has issued a public apology over reports of serious faults in some of his London rental properties. Jas Athwal, who represents Ilford South, owns 15 flats where tenants have complained about black mould and ant infestations. He says he's shocked at the reports and vowed to take immediate action to address the issues. Now, new research reveals Ozempic might do more than fight obesity. It could also slow down ageing. In a study of over 17,000 people aged 45 and older, the anti-obesity drug semaglutide not only reduces the risk of death for the heart disease, but also cuts mortality rates from all causes. Experts say the breakthrough could have significant implications for treating obesity and extending healthy lifespan. Fighting will pause in Gaza tomorrow as part of a plan to roll out polio vaccines to hundreds and thousands of children. The scheme will be staggered during breaks in the conflict over 3 days. Last week, health officials confirmed that a baby had been paralysed by the virus, the first such case in the territory in 25 years. The Oasis comeback tour shows have started to sell out for some dates after fans have been scrambling to secure tickets. Error messages and glitches are hampering people's attempts to land a spot on the reunion tour. Ticketmaster, one of the major sellers, insists their site hasn't crashed, but fans are still reporting outages and long queues. Parts of England could see flooding this weekend as heavy rain and thunderstorms sweep across the southwest. The Met Office have issued a yellow warning for flooding, power cuts and travel disruption. Up to 75 millimetres of rain could fall in under an hour, with lightning, hail and strong winds also posing threats. Despite the uncertainty, residents across southern and central England are being urged to stay alert for sudden severe weather. And US rapper Fat Man Scoop has died at the age of 53. That's according to his tour manager. The artist. The artist, whose real name was Isaac Freeman, had been taken to hospital after collapsing on stage during a performance in Connecticut in the US on Friday. In a statement, his management said, "We are heartbroken to announce the passing of our dear friend and client." Scoop had success around the world and topped the UK singles chart in 2003 with Be Faithful. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler, more in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sophia. This is GB News. Joining me now, I'm Nana Akua. For the next hour, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me today is former Labour MP Bill Ramon, also broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy. Still to come, my difficult conversation today is with writer and former mobster Stephen Gillam. He'll be talking about him growing up in Belfast through the Troubles as we mark the 30th anniversary of the IRA ceasefire. Then, for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, can Priti Patel save the Tory party? This comes as she made promises that she would lead the Tory party and called Keir Starmer dishonest. So, for the Great British Debate this hour, what do you think? Can Priti Patel save the party? Send me your thoughts, post your comments, visit gbnews.com/your say. But first, let's get back to our top story this hour. A 32-year-old mother and a man who was attacked in two separate incidents over the Notting Hill weekend have died. The Metropolitan Police said that Cher Maximum, who'd been at the Carnival last Sunday with her 3-year-old daughter, died in hospital this morning. Separately, Musi Imnetu, who worked as a chef and was found unconscious on Monday evening near Notting Hill, has also died from his injuries. Well, joining me now is London Assembly member Keith Prince. Keith, thank you very much for joining me. A lot of people are asking whether it's time now to move Notting Hill Carnival.
Well, you know, may I start by saying how awful these two deaths have been, and, you know, my thoughts and prayers are with the families, and they both leave very young children, which is tragic. For a long time, there's been this debate of probably the right event, definitely the wrong location. And I worked with MOPAC before.
MOPAC?
The Mayor's Office of Policing and Crime, before I became an Assembly member. And it's quite clear that the constraints of the Notting Hill area make it very difficult to police. And I certainly would support the event moving possibly somewhere. Hyde Park's been suggested. So in a sort of proper area that can be contained, where it can be properly policed, and people can be free to enjoy themselves, because we want people to enjoy themselves. We want people to celebrate their culture. My children are half Caribbean, so of course I'm very supportive of the Carnival, but we want them to be safe as well. We want to have them in a safe environment, so that's what I think we need to create.
What is the objection, though, to it being moved? Because I wrote a piece in the Daily Mail and people said, you didn't write it, that can't be your view, you've been told to write those things. Nobody told me to write those things. I know exactly what I meant by I said it should be moved.
Well,
what's the objection?
The objection is that there's this link to tradition. You know, it's always been there. It's been there since the 60s. It didn't actually start there, but it's been there since the 60s, and everybody thinks that that's where it should be because it's called the Notting Hill Carnival. But to be fair, It's now an international carnival. It's one of the biggest carnivals in the world. It's a massive benefit to the country in regards to bringing in money and bringing visitors to London. And I think we should celebrate that, but we should celebrate it by putting it in the right location, the place where it can really grow and thrive and be safe.
What about the argument that somebody did pose this on gbnews.com/, you'll say, that actually this was more about the boroughs, because Kensington Borough would benefit from Carnival, but then if it goes to, say, Hyde Park, it's Westminster?
Well, I don't think anyone or the boroughs are benefiting from the cost of policing the Carnival, which I think last year was about £12 million. We don't get full refund of that from the government either, so that is borne by the GLA, which...
The Greater London Authority.
Yeah, thank you, yes. Which is then, of course, Londoners, one way or another, because the Mayor puts a precept, that's an extra tax on our bills for policing. So I think that really, when you take into account the cost that that comes with having to do the big clean-up afterwards as well, I'm not sure how much the borough really benefits from it. And I just think that Westminster, anyway, would be better placed to host it.
Because last year there were people running around with machetes, there were deaths, it's the same thing every year. We know what's going to happen. The police don't want to do this. No. Nobody is safe. Would the Carnival... What would be the next move for Mayor Khan? He put out a statement about the deaths. What should be his next move in terms of actually looking at the location for this? Because I don't recall seeing any of that in his statement or I haven't heard him talking about that. No,
and he doesn't. I think he probably steer clear of it. He thinks it's too much of a political hot potato.
Why, though? Isn't he the Mayor of London?
Well, yes, he is. And I don't... this is a tragic thing, and I don't really want to get into doing political spats in this particular interview, because I think we need to stick to the point of what can we do to improve it.
Well, that is the point, isn't he? It's not about political spats. Forget the party political element. He's the Mayor of London. What's his responsibility in this, and is he the person that could make the change?
Well, he could. He could most definitely facilitate moving the Carnival to, say, Hyde Park. I'm using Hyde Park as an example. Could be any of the big parks. Any park in London, really. And, of course, what he could do, he could engage with the organisers and persuade them that this is the best thing for the Carnival, because that's what needs to be done. Someone needs to sit down with the organisers and say, look, the Carnival's outgrown where it is now, and it could be even more interesting, even more exciting than it is if it was given the right platform to do it.
Well, it could be even more safer, is I think most people's argument. I mean, we're sick and tired of hearing of people needlessly dying, and also the level of policing. There's no way of actually working out how many people actually went to Carnival. They'll say, oh, it's a couple of million. But all the things on the outsides that people can get in. Did you see this year there was the police, there was like the crush. So the shot from above, obviously a drone or some sort of camera showing people trying to climb out. That's happened to me. I mean, one year I went, and the first and last year I went, where I was almost pushed onto a vat of jerk chicken. Oof. It's not funny. I mean, the way I say it, it's slightly amusing. I mean, it's a big steel drum. Yeah, and they're pushing me towards it. And I'm like, And I thought to myself, I'm going to be brandished on a vat of jerk chicken, a big drum, boiling drum. And I managed to climb out. Yeah. But what I saw on TV was almost like that similar location. We climbed over a wall and it looked like that same place. Well,
this is the thing. There is no room for expansion. These are relatively narrow roads. Thousands of people are crammed into them. If anything goes wrong, if people panic, as we've seen in other events across the country, if people panic in these tight cauldron situations, it is fatal.
It is.
And I think it's time to move on.
Time to move on. Listen, with that, on that bombshell, Keith, thank you very much. Really good to speak to you. That is Keith Prince. He's a member of the London Assembly, now Mayor of London. Sadiq Khan released this statement on the deaths at the Notting Hill Carnival moments ago. He said it is heartbreaking that Cher Maxim and Musul Netju have died after being attacked in separate incidents over the bank holiday weekend. My thoughts are with their families and friends at this truly terrible time. This violence is shocking, completely unacceptable, and a betrayal of the value that Carnival was founded to celebrate. Thanks to our efforts of the hard-working police, a 20-year-old man and a 31-year-old man have already been charged. And I urge anyone with any information to contact the police on 101, or you can anonymously contact independent charity Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. 15 minutes after 5 o'clock. Next up, it's my difficult conversation. 30th anniversary of the Provisional Irish Republic Army announced a complete cessation of military operations. You'll hear the thoughts of the writer and former mobster Stephen Gillen. He's up next.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
One local cricket team was made up entirely of one family, the Jollens.
The Newmarket midweek seconds played Thurlow and Old Milgreenian seconds, captained by, here we go, James Jolland. He played alongside family members Henry, Freddie, George, Jack, Archie, Ryan, Brandon and Daniel. Even if slightly controversial, one of the umpires was a Jolland to Stephen the umpire.
Yes, well, the Jolland family mostly live in Wickenbrook in Suffolk and have played for 4 years for Dullingham Village team before it merged with Newmarket. So that's the entire backstory. We're delighted to be joined now by Captain James Jolland and teammate and brother Nick Jolland. Really good to see you both this morning. This is incredible. How did you get the entire family involved in cricket?
Well, we started the club about 3 years ago, and it was more friends and family. But then it had this opportunity of this week to get everyone involved, because everyone was back and they all played cricket, various levels, and the youngest being 12, George. And we were all available, so we thought 1 week we'd do the whole team.
You booted the friends out for 1 week only?
Yeah, they were very good about it. They come and watched. They supported us.
How did the other team feel about having an umpire with related ties?
Well, the captain of the Thurlow is one of our friends. We do know him, so he was fine with it, and there was no controversial decisions at all.
I think it's a fantastic strategy.
No, yeah.
You could plant somebody.
That's the way
in a position of authority. It's a great idea.
Oh, look, here's the scorecard we can see on the screen with all of your names on there. Some fantastic English names on there. How does it get between the family members? Is it very, very competitive between you all?
As you get older, you work on that, don't you? And you keep that competitiveness out of it. And it's really to play with your sons. It's a great thing to do.
Yeah, it's a lovely
we've
thing
all
to
got
do.
sons in it. That's why we do it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria Di Piero, bringing you
PMQ's live here on GB News.
Whenever Parliament is in session on a Wednesday at midday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions. We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's live here on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon. Welcome. If you just tuned in, where have you been? No, welcome. I know I shouldn't be so unkind. Thank you very much for joining me. It's just coming up to 19 minutes after 5 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We are Britain's news channel. Don't forget, you can download the GB News app. You can stream all the shows live as well via YouTube, so make sure you stay in touch with us that way. But now, it's time for this week's Difficult Conversations. And today I'm joined by a man whose life has been shaped by his turbulent history, the history of Northern Ireland, in fact. He was born in England but raised in Belfast during the height of the Troubles. Stephen Gillen experienced firsthand the conflict that defined a generation. And after returning to England and navigating a difficult childhood through the care system, he found himself in prison for the first time at just 14. As we mark the 30th anniversary of the Provisional Irish Republican Army's announcement of a complete cessation of military operations. Stephen joins me to reflect on his pivotal moment and all this time in history. Stephen Gillard, welcome.
Hi, Nana. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Look at us, our colours match. That you've got blue and yellow. They're so complementary. What's your favourite colour?
I like blue. I'm very safe.
Should have said green.
I should push it out a bit.
You should say green. Blue and yellow make green, man. What's wrong with you? Welcome, Stephen. So talk to me. You grew up. You were born in the UK, but in England actually. But you kind of grew up during the Troubles in Northern Ireland, because you've written your book Extraordinary, and that actually kind of starts the journey there. So talk to me about what it was like growing up in Belfast.
I was born here, and then I was taken over there when I was about six months old. You know, so all I remember was that upbringing. Ireland is a magical place, amazing people. You know, it was scarred, of course, then, you know, by the war years. This was the early 70s when it was really hitting it. But you know, this goes back. You know, there's a lot of history that has positioned this and the people of Northern Ireland. All parties now, you know, for what they had to endure and what they had to go through in them years. It was a great place, but it was you know, you had to watch yourself in them years. It was a very dangerous place to live at that time.
Yeah, but that kind of started you off with your journey, because when did you come back to England, and what were your sort of main memories?
Well, you know, I was a child. There was a lot of amazing stuff. I was fortunate enough to be around wonderful people. You know, behind the door it was very kind, very loving, all the stuff a child would want. But outside the door, of course, was a different matter, a real suspicion. You had to watch where you went, what you said, all of this kind of stuff. So it was a paradox, really.
Talk to me about your family then, and your actual upbringing then. So, where were your parents? What happened to you? I mean, I understood somebody else sort of brought you up rather than your immediate family. Is that
right? Yeah. My mother left to make a life for us in England. You know, them years was very hard. So I was with the grandmother and the older lot of the family. You know, so they was the old school, right? You know, and they brought them values. You know, so I was very lucky. That was instilled in me. You know, in them formative years. But it was a very, very hard place to navigate. I mean, I see terrible, terrible atrocities over there, and you was faced with that constantly there, you know?
I remember there was always talk of the Troubles in Northern Ireland until eventually all of that stopped. So when you came to this country, talk to me about getting in trouble at the age of 14. How did that come about?
Well, I was groomed, Nana, in many respects. I'm not the excuses guy, but you know, when I come back to England, I was a 9-year-old child on a boat, you know, going to a foreign land, and I was different. You know, I had to navigate that, you know, and then ended up in London, and I was like the feral child. Of course, you know, it was easy for me to look for a surrogate family, which was a lot of what happened, you know, and some of the people of the outer family or people I, you know, knew after coming through a very, very hard time in care homes. But, you know, they was high-profile target criminals of the day. So this became the next surrogate family.
So you potentially were targeted because you were in a care home by these sort of people who would kind of groom you into a life of crime.
I think it's easy, Nana. I mean, I was susceptible to that, you know, and I brought a lot of trauma, a lot of damage. So I was a crazy kid, and to them that's attractive. Yeah. Once upon a time, many moons, but really I wasn't. You know, I was screaming out for other things, and you know, I needed that ecosystem that we all do, and of course I didn't really have that.
You were looking for love. You were looking for the nurturing feeling of a family, which is probably why you ended up in gangs. Is that right? So So at 14, what were your crimes then? What did you do? Why were you in prison?
Well, it started off, it was the stupid stuff, you know. We used to run away from the care homes now, to be honest with you, you know, and it was just trying to survive. We'd do stupid stuff because they'd bring us back and we'd go back and forth, you know, from London and all the rest of it. You know, some of the care homes I was in, they was very brutal and, you know, and stuff like that. You know, some of the things that's in the book, of course, what they used to do. So it wasn't a good place, a healthy place to be, right? And it just went on from there because it snowballed.
OK, so your first crime, what was that? And what age were you when you went to the care home?
12,
About 12.
11,
12.
Coming on to 12. You know, your first stuff was stupid stuff, you know, taking cars and taking things from shops. Stupid stuff. Of course, that escalated, you know, later on.
To what?
Well, you know the story
I
now.
do know the story, but the viewers and listeners might not know.
No. You know, we got into organised crime, serious crime, very, very quickly.
When you say we, who was your accomplice? Who were you with?
Well, it was the people around me, you know. And the thing about this, as a 16-year-old, we even had firearms, all this stuff around us. Unfortunately, it's a terrible thing, but I have to say it to try and give solutions to this way of life. But, you know, the thing you have to understand is the older ones, they had gone through the same thing as well, in a way. So they was positioned for that. Not all of them, but a majority of them. And, of course, you know, you're really conditioned then. You know, it's hard to get out of that life. It's very dark. It closes you in, you know. And, of course, the mindset is very destructive.
And so you were you went to prison for using a firearm, as I understand. Is that right? Using a firearm. You didn't. You shot at an officer. You didn't shoot them, but you did kind of shoot at them.
Yeah, for the viewers, I mean, it was serious stuff. Very, very quickly. I had 3 trials at the Old Bailey.
It was armed robbery,
organised crime stuff. I ended up in the end. I got 17 years. So I'd done 12 of that as a category A prisoner. Now, you know.
And you were there in prison alongside people like Charles Bronson.
Yes, Charlie Bronson. He's a very sad case, really, in many ways. You know, he's should he be released? I think he should, but he needs to come down the system, Nana, because they're not giving them opportunities to rehabilitate. So that's Charlie.
What was he like, though, when you met him?
Well, he's some of the things, obviously, that people think, but there are other sides to people. And when you're kind of caged like that, how he was, it's very hard to translate into something better.
Well, so you've written a book, Stephen Gillen, Extraordinary, which you are. We've talked about this book before, but there's a lot of other stuff going on with you now because you've become an entrepreneur, you've become obviously a motivational speaker, encouraging others to choose the right path. Talk to me about what you're up to now then, because it's been an incredible journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to say to the viewers over there, I don't condone this kind of violence or anything like that. In 2019, I was nominated for an International Peace Prize. This is the other side of it. You know, so there's a lot of work there in the middle. This is many years ago, and, yeah, you know, I own businesses and stuff like that. I've just finished filming with Ross Kemp. There's a series coming out.
What's that called?
It's called Ross Kemp, Mafia and Britain. It's on Sky History.
What do you do in it?
Well, I kind of present with Ross in the first episode, which is London. You know, I introduced them to a lot of people. I have a lot of access, but it's about the Italian mafia's influence here in the UK. It's filmed in Sicily, New York, Colombia, Spain. I actually say to Ross, you know, if you want to understand La Cosa Nostra, you have to go to New York. So I send him to New York at the end of the series. But you know,
and now your parents, are they half Italian or both Italian? Or
my grandmother was Italian, but I'm Irish, very Irish.
You're Irish. You sound like you sound mafioso from the Italian side. That's how he sounds. It's great though. So you've done, so you came out of prison. What was the hardest thing that you had to face when you came out of there? Because most people will never trust a prisoner if somebody's, especially at that time. Now there are more schemes. You've got Timpson helping out prisoners and things, but that didn't exist then.
Needless to say, Nana, you know, the hardest part was finding my own humanity and my own self. I've done a lot of voluntary work. I actually done a big piece in the Times about this, you know, reform just the other week there, you know, saying about this and how to help people to transition correctly through that. But, you know, you're institutionalised, so you've got a couple of years there to find yourself and, you know, integrate back into life.
So what do you think of, just to get your view, Keir Starmer, he's obviously shortened sentences, 40% of the sentence will be served, some people coming out earlier to make space for others, whatever your judgment is on whether he's right to do that. What do you think, Stephen?
I think, and I've said this, Nana, time and time again, the categorisation of prisoners in the first instance is wrong. As many people shouldn't be in there. Do you mean? There's other people who have mental health problems, they're just thrown in there. Of course, there are some people that need to be in prison, that's for sure. They need to pay their debt to society and all this stuff. But it's very, you know, the red tape is very bureaucratic, you know, in there. And, you know, it's like fiefdoms in a way, you know, and this stops the communication process at real decision-making to really get rehabilitation for those open to that and need
Yeah,
that.
because that's a good point, because not everyone's open to rehabilitation. Some people are hardened and they're never going to be rehabilitated, even if they give you the impression that they might be. Was there a lot of that about? I mean, I suppose when you were in prison at that time, was there rehabilitation? Was there anything? Did they offer you anything when you came out?
For me, I have to say no, because Category A's, it was high security prisons within prisons. That's about containment and security. The general prison population, there is, but all too little, and packaged in the wrong way, Nana.
So you've got a few things coming out that we should keep our eyes on, the stuff with Ross Kemp as well. Anything in the pipeline that you can tell us about?
Yeah, the book. The book is really good. I'm actually doing something with Netflix now. We're a fifth of the way into doing a documentary on my life.
Oh, wow.
But because of some of the great work I've been privileged to do, and that we're really in the middle of some wonderful stuff in the States. I can't talk too much about it, but it's to do a couple of seasons, something over there, which is really exciting. It's very high level, and it's in the same genre, which is what I can, all I could really say at the moment. So watch out for that one. I'm super excited and privileged about that one.
Yeah, well, we will definitely keep our eyes peeled for all of that, Stephen. And, of course, your book, Extraordinary, it's out now. People can get hold of it in all the necessary places in the regular bookstores. How's it going? Is it proving to be very popular with people?
It's going really well. We've done a launch at Waterstones, Of course, she was, we see some great people there, shall I say. I'm really glad they come to support. And, of course, before me, you had people in there like the Deputy Prime Minister, Kelly Holmes, and all that launched their books in there. So it was really successful, and I'm just really privileged. It's not really the story. I'm just a conduit. I don't, I'm feet on the ground. But it's the jewels and the message is in there to help other people. I think it's a valuable part.
And what is your message? What would your message be to people?
Well, to make the right choices in life, and life is tough. It doesn't matter what that is. These things forge us, but it's always about being honest, finding the best of yourself, being open to learn and give, rather than take.
Stephen Gillen, what a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much for joining me. That is Stephen Gillen. He was a former mobster, but he's now an author, he's an entrepreneur, he has businesses, and he's really turned his life around. Definitely one to watch out for. 32 minutes after 5 o'clock. Welcome. If you just tuned in, I'm Nana Akua. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. This is GB News. We are the People's Channel. Still to come, we'll continue with the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, can Priti Patel save the Tory party? Can anything save the Tory party? You'll hear the thoughts of my panel, Lizzie Cundy and Bill Rammell. But first, let's get an update with your latest news with Sophia Wensler.
Nana, thank you. Good afternoon. It's 5:32. I'm Sophia Wensler with your headlines. A woman stabbed at Notting Hill Carnival while attending the event with her 3-year-old child has now died. Cher Maximen was attacked in broad daylight after she tried to intervene in a fight on Sunday. The 32-year-old was taken to hospital in a critical condition, but despite the best efforts of medical staff, she died from her injuries. Detectives say they are working with the 32-year-old's family and providing support to make sure the child is safe and looked after. Meanwhile, a top chef attacked in a separate incident during Notting Hill Carnival has also died. Police found Muzium Netu unconscious on the street in Queensway before paramedics arrived. A 31-year-old man has been charged with GBH. However, police are still looking for witnesses who may have seen Muzi between 1 o'clock on Monday afternoon and the time of the attack just before 11:30 p.m. In other news, the Oasis comeback tour shows have started to sell out for some dates after fans have been scrambling to secure tickets. Error messages and glitches are hampering people's attempts to land a spot on the reunion tour. Ticketmaster, one of the major sellers, insists their site hasn't crashed, but fans are still reporting outages and long queues. And US rapper Fat Man Scoop has died at the age of 53. That's according to his tour manager. The artist, whose real name was Isaac Freeman, had been taken to hospital after collapsing on stage during a performance in Connecticut in the US on Friday. In a statement, his management said, "We are heartbroken to announce the passing of our dear friend and client. Scoop had success around the world and topped the UK singles chart in 2003 with Be Faithful. And parts of England could see flooding this weekend as heavy rain and thunderstorms sweep across the southwest. The Met Office have issued a yellow warning for flooding, power cuts and travel disruption. Up to 75 millimetres of rain could fall in under an hour, with lightning, hail and strong winds also posing threats. Despite the uncertainty, residents across southern and central England are being urged to stay alert for sudden severe weather. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler, more in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We're starting the weekend on a fine note across the bulk of the UK, but over the next couple of days, things turning more unsettled, increasingly humid for a while, and we'll start to see some thundery downpours developing in places too. High pressure is pulling away towards the northeast of the UK now, allowing a southeasterly feed to develop. This warm front starts to introduce more in the way of cloud from the south, particularly across parts of England and Wales as we head through the evening into the overnight period. One or two showers also breaking out from that cloud as it starts to thicken from the south, particularly towards the southeast of England later in the night. Here there could be thundery in nature, those showers, whereas towards the northwest it's clearest. We'll hold on to some good clear spells right through the night here, turning locally quite chilly with temperatures dipping into single figures, but towards the south of the UK, increasingly warm and humid, temperatures here in the mid to upper teens. So we start Sunday then on a pretty clear note towards the north and northwest of the UK. One or two mist or fog patches in places, those soon burning away to give some sunshine. Temperatures responding into the low teens by the early morning as the sun starts to get to work on those temperatures. Further south though into England and Wales, again more in the way of cloud around. Still one or two showers, locally on the heavy side at this stage mainly towards the southeast of England. And again one or two of those showers could be thundery in nature. On the whole, Sunday will be a cloudier day than on Saturday. I think the best of the sunshine lingering towards the northwest of the UK there, but elsewhere a fair bit of cloud and a few showers also breaking out in places, particularly across central, southern parts of England and later across the north of England too. Some of those showers turning heavy and thundery could give one or two problems, I think, in places with some flooding issues. So the best of the lingering brightness towards the northwest of the UK. Notice though, towards the southeast it's very warm and humid. Temperatures here into the high 20s, 27 Celsius, that's 81 in Fahrenheit. A bit cooler towards the northwest in the high teens. Into Sunday evening, the showers start to migrate their way northwards, a few starting to push into Scotland as we head through Sunday evening. Elsewhere, though, we're holding on to a few clear spells. On the whole, though, the start of next week looks pretty unsettled. Showers or longer spells of rain around, perhaps turning a bit drier towards the middle part of the coming week.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Arlene Foster on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, 38 minutes after 5 o'clock. Welcome. If you just tuned in, 21 minutes to go. It's fine, it's fine. You can join me for these last 21 minutes. Welcome. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We are the People's Channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. And it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, can Priti Patel save the Tory party? Launching her run to become the new Tory leader, Priti Patel accused Sir Keir Starmer of being dishonest about Britain's finances since Labour took over. She used her campaign event to promise that she would return the party to power and would give back control to Conservative members with various party reforms. So for the Great British Debate this hour, can Priti Patel save the party? Well, joining me now, commentator. She keeps changing what they... broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy. So obviously 3 different people writing stuff. And also former Labour Minister Bill Bramall. Right, I'm going to start with you. Lizzie Cundy, can Priti Patel save the Tory party?
No, she can't. I call her Princess Doolittle Patel. No, she can't, because she just talks about it and doesn't actually act. Look, her speech was very slick, statesmanlike, and she does a good job of talking, but there is no action. And we haven't had an apology. It was down to her. We had huge records of migration. There was all sorts of things. She's had accusations of bullying.
Hold on. The accusations of bullying, it didn't end up being founded.
No, but she was accused.
And also mass migration. This is a progression from many governments. This is something that she was obviously, you know, she has taken the chalice of and is carrying on with. But she had a very unhelpful civil service, remember?
She did. I will agree with you there. But I fear the Tory party are doomed if they have her. They need to look at fresh, new blood, and I'm afraid she is like... Her speech was written like by a rubbish collector, and it's like of this dying platoons that they're all clipping back together, and the whole thing stinks. It's over, I'm afraid.
But we need a good opposition, and Priti Patel, she's a strong woman. She's a strong woman. She's shown her mettle. She did a good job in the Home Office initially, or at some point, I think. So, Bill Bramall, come on, what do you think? Could she save the party? Is she what the party needs?
Well, I think the more important question is, can anyone save the Tory party?
Well, no, I didn't ask that.
No.
I'll come to that.
Hold on.
I did say it. That's the second question.
But let me explain why I say that. You know, the fundamental problem is the Tory party membership, who are older, more reactionary, more extreme than the British electorate, and they choose the leader. And I think this is a problem for the Tories. It's also a problem for the Labour Party. You know, any system of selection that gives you Jeremy Corbyn, Boris Johnson and Liz Truss has got to have something against it.
Hold on. You say that the members are more extreme than the British public, but the reason why many would say the Tory party failed to win the British public over, let's forget the infighting, but the fact that they weren't Conservative, they did not have Conservative policies. That is the reason why they didn't get the vote, and many voters went to Reform. That's why. So I don't think that the members are further to the right than the British public.
There's a myriad of reasons why the Tories
but that's why I said I park those, but I'm going with what you said.
I'm going to come on to that. I profoundly believe, based on history, the only place you can win elections in Britain is from the centre ground. And you therefore need a leader who's going to drag the Tory party kicking and screaming back to the centre ground. And I don't get a sense that any of the 6 of them are up for that fight.
And you think the Labour Party hit the centre ground?
I don't think they do. I mean, look how they're acting in their draconian ways.
Many might say this is far left
I'm
behaviour.
sorry, Labour saying they're changed. They're so much the same, if not worse. But what the Tories need to go back to proper Tory values. But I think we need fresh faces. Nana, she was linked with the whole of, you know, leaving before Liz Truss. She was like some scorned woman. And though she's strong, yes, and she did a great speech, I thought, she is not right to lead the Tory party.
Well, look at the options. They've got Tom Tugendhat, he's a Liberal Democrat in disguise. They've got Robert Jenrick, who...
Tom is actually a very noble guy who actually has fought for this country.
But he's not...
I agree with
really
you.
To the right.
He is too liberal.
He's proper Liberal Democrat.
Yeah, Jenrick... You know, I don't know who can lead this party. All I do know is that we need a good opposition against Labour.
But you know what? I was on this channel in the Green Room a week or so ago with a Tory MP who better remain nameless, and he said the next Tory Prime Minister has probably not been elected yet. You go back to when the Tories lost in '97. David Cameron wasn't an MP.
What do you mean? Oh, he's not an MP,
yeah.
You mean?
And when Labour lost in 2010, Keir Starmer wasn't an MP. You know, I think the Tories need a fundamental reconstruction.
But we need a leader, though. That's all very well, but they need a leader. And it has to be somebody who has been elected. You can't just pick anybody.
OK.
So
hands up for me, the one that would be most challenging, in my view, is Tom Tugendhat, because I think he's got a good track record, a good backstory, and he could be serious. I'm not sure the Tory party members...
But he's liberal. He's liberal.
He's not
the
a Tory,
fact is, to have a good government, you need a good, strong opposition. And we need to get the Tory party to have a leader now. We need a strong leader.
So out of the options that you have, so you've got Kemi Badenoch, you've got Priti Patel, you've got, what's his name that suddenly appeared? I'd never even seen him before in my life. I can't remember that one, beginning with the W. Come on.
Not the former Home Secretary. I can't remember his name.
Exactly. I think that's the problem.
That's
that we have.
worrying.
I think that's the problem, isn't it? That those going for leadership are not really that problem. Oh, what about Generic?
Generic is, well, he's had a makeover like your Keir Starmer. He has had lost a lot of weight. He actually was very honest and said he was on the Ozempic. But look, he's strong. He speaks from the heart, and he has real, true Tory values. And I think he is the best bet.
I think he's got a very questionable track record that would easily be pulled apart were he elected leader of the Tory party.
In what sense are you able to
enlighten
us?
For example, sitting down at a dinner with a major Tory donor and then influencing a planning decision when he was the Secretary of State responsible.
Oh, they've all been up to something.
But
I mean, you've got,
we're going to talk about revelations.
Shall we talk about
Jazz?
Jazz?
At the minute?
Let's talk about Jazz Atwell and the others. I mean, let's not even go there because we can take the Labour Party apart as well and their cronyism.
Okay.
Let's talk. The person I was after was Mel Stride.
Yes.
That's the guy, because I just never remember.
He's going to drop out.
Well, and also James Cleverly.
That's the former Home Secretary.
Yeah,
I think he's a possibility.
James Cleverly, for me, no. I just... It didn't work. He backed Rishi, and I just... Not a fan.
Well, so all we've got then out of these ones is Kemi Badenoch, Robert Jenrick and potentially Priti Patel, if the others are not really...
Jenrick.
Who would you, if you had to choose one?
Well, I'm not objective, but I'm being honest, the one who I think would be most challenging for the Labour Party and this Labour government would be Tugendhat.
You think so? Wow. Wow, that's because he's a Liberal Democrat. Well, that's what I think anyway. A lot of people will argue that he is in the Conservative Party, by the way, people. But then the Conservative Party, what are they?
He wanted to stay in the EU.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think Priti Patel's a good option with what they have there. And I don't know, I think she might make a good leader. But stay tuned. Coming up, my quickfire quiz. I test the panel on some of the stories that caught my eye this week. Stay tuned. Do not go anywhere.
I'm Simon Evans, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
A new exhibition at Gainsborough's house in Sudbury in Suffolk is the first to chart the artistic careers of Cedric Morris, who lived from 1889 to 1982, and Arthur Let Haynes, who lived from 1894 to 1978. They were partners in love and art for 60 years. I'm joined now by the exhibition curator, Dr. Pat Hardy. Some people will not be in the least bit familiar with these two British artists. So do you want to say a word of background about Cedric Morris and Arthur Let Haynes?
About 100 artworks were left in 2017 of Cedric Morris's works. And it was felt then that an exhibition to showcase that work would be very appealing to the public. Morris's flower paintings have had a lot of traction. They've become very popular commercially, and there's been more research done on them. So it was felt that it would be good to broaden out the flower painter aspects of Morris's work to showcase the portraits and the landscapes and protest paintings, which we now had in the collection. And it was also thought important that his partner, as you mentioned, for 60 years, Let Haynes, was also given some profile because he very much fell away into the shadows because he was promoting Morris's work and running the school, which was set up nearby, near Sudbury, near Gainsborough's house at Hadley, which was a very different type of art school. And a lot of people, both artists and locals, do remember it having been in operation and how wild it was and how bohemian they were. So it's felt to be a good story in personal terms, but also artistically to try and place these two, particularly Morris, in the 20th century art world.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, welcome. This is GB News, I'm Nana Akua, and it's time now for the Quickfire Quiz, the part of the show where I test my panel on some of the other stories that are hitting the headlines right now. So joining me, broadcast from columnist Lizzie Cundy. Lizzie, your buzzer, please. And also former Labour Party advisor, Minister even, Bill Rammell. Right, and please play along at home. I'd love for you to join in. Right, question 1. October's budget will be painful, and the government will have to make big asks of the public. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer warned, but which of these was among the taxes that he pledged would not be raised? Is it A, capital gains tax, B, tax relief on pensions, or C, VAT? I'll go for Bill Rammell, you were first.
VAT.
You're not going to raise... Lizzie Cundy?
VAT.
VAT, let's see what the answer is. The answer is, of course, C. It is VAT. Did you get that right?
Say Bill buzzed before you'd finished. Just say
You
it.
did buzz before I finished. He did. I let him off because it was literally just at the edge of my words. But don't do it again, Bill.
I'm duly smacked.
Naughty Bill.
Yes, but who knows? What will they raise? I mean, they are taxing pensions or removing the winter fuel allowance, which I think is horrific. But what do you think? Anyway, question 2. True or false? The UK has won 7 gold medals at the Paralympics. Lizzie Cundy. True.
True.
You need to press your buzzer. I have to take your first answer, and you didn't do it before the buzzer. So, Lizzie Cundy, let's see if you're right. The answer is true.
Yes.
It is true.
Yes.
They've won 7. Although my advice to you, Bill, if someone says true, just say false. Just a test. She sometimes does that with real confidence, and she's often wrong.
Make it till you make it.
Right. In which country has Twitter been suspended? Is it A, Brazil, B, Portugal, C, South Korea?
Other than
Lizzie
those,
Cundy.
A, Brazil.
Bill Rammell.
It is Brazil.
It is Brazil. The answer is indeed Brazil. Yes, Twitter has been banned or axed from Brazil. The Prime Minister was not happy with Elon Musk apparently enabling misinformation on the platform. Right. There should be 5 questions. Why is there only 4? Wow. What's going on? Somebody... Final question. How much is the cheapest ticket to see Oasis play at Wembley? Closest answer wins. Lizzie Cundy.
£500.
300. 300.
I think the answer is £74.25. So Bill Rammell is correct.
Well done.
He didn't buzz, though. I can't give him that. He didn't buzz. He didn't buzz.
Oh.
I can't give him that, Bill. I'm sorry.
Oh,
It's rigged.
All right. So well done, Lizzie Cundy. She's the winner. Let's just take one more look at Angela Rayner. Raving Rayner. Here she is. Let's have a look at her. She's doing a bit of a raving. Come on, Angela. Where's it gone? I was waiting for that. Raving Rayner. Here she is. Take a look, because that's what she's been doing. She's been on the Isle of Ibiza having a bit of fun, which there's nothing really wrong with having a bit of fun. But unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, she happens to be the Deputy Prime Minister, and it sort of doesn't... It's just not a great look. Here she is. Yeah, there she is, Raving Rayner. Yeah, Angela Rayner. She got a bottle of water there or something. Lizzie Cundy, what do you make of it?
Heaven help us. Well, I've just heard off the press that Keir Starmer is going to do Saturday Night Fever. It is. He is. He's got his leather pants on. We're going to see him boogieing away. What is going on, Bill? This is absolutely a disgrace.
He's not going to do Saturday Night Fever.
He is. He's doing it, yeah. He is.
No.
You're making that up.
Starmer's Fever. Saturday Night Starmer. Honestly, trying to get in and cool with the kids, it is such... I think it is absolutely awful.
What utter tosh.
After that gloom and doom speech.
She's on holiday. She's a youngish woman. She loves rage.
Youngish.
She won't be happy with that, Bill.
Most people will think she's relatable.
OK.
Well, her behaviour sums up the Labour Party. It's all gone to their heads.
Yeah, well, listen, on today's show...
You've never been to a rave, Lizzie?
Be quiet. Excuse me.
I'm not the deputy.
Be quiet, be quiet. On today's show... I want the music, thank you very much. Shut these two up. On today's show, I've been asking, should Notting Hill Carnival be moved? According to our Twitter poll on X, 92% of you say yes. 8% of you say no. Wow.
Wow,
that's
huge.
unanimous, isn't it? Well, pretty much. I've got to say a huge thank you to my panel, former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. Bill Rammell, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And also author and broadcaster Lizzie Cundy. Lizzie Cundy, thank you so much to you.
Thank you.
And as ever, a huge huge thank you to you at home for your company. Stay tuned, loads more here on GB News. Up next, it is the fabulous Saturday 5. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, 3 o'clock. Be there or be square. Well, don't go anywhere. I'll leave you with the weather forecast. Have a fabulous evening. We'll see you tomorrow at 3.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We're starting the weekend on a fine note across the bulk of the UK, but over the next couple of days, things turning more unsettled, increasingly humid for a while, and we'll start to see some thundery downpours developing in places too. High pressure is pulling away towards the northeast of the UK now, allowing a southeasterly feed to develop. This warm front starts to introduce more in the way of cloud from the south, particularly across parts of England and Wales as we head through the evening into the overnight period. 1 or 2 showers also breaking out from that cloud as it starts to thicken from the south, particularly towards the southeast of England later in the night. Here there could be thundery in nature, those showers, whereas towards the northwest it's clearest. We'll hold on to some good clear spells right through the night here, turning locally quite chilly with temperatures dipping into single figures, but towards the south of the UK, increasingly warm and humid, temperatures here in the mid to upper teens. So we start Sunday then on a pretty clear note towards the north and northwest of the UK. 1 or 2 mist or fog patches in places, those soon burning away to give some sunshine. Temperatures responding into the low teens by the early morning as the sun starts to get to work on those temperatures. Further south though into England and Wales, again more in the way of cloud around, still 1 or 2 showers, locally on the heavy side at this stage mainly towards the southeast of England, and again 1 or 2 of those showers could be thundery in nature. On the whole, Sunday will be a cloudier day than on Saturday. I think the best of the sunshine lingering towards the northwest of the UK there, but elsewhere a fair bit of cloud and a few showers also breaking out in places, particularly across central, southern parts of England and later across the north of England too. Some of those showers turning heavy and thundery could give 1 or 2 problems, I think, in places with some flooding issues. So the best of the lingering brightness towards the northwest of the UK. Notice though, towards the southeast it's very warm and humid. Temperatures here into the high 20s, 27 Celsius, that's 81 in Fahrenheit. A bit cooler towards the northwest in the high teens. Into Sunday evening, the showers start to migrate their way northwards, a few starting to push into Scotland as we head through Sunday evening. Elsewhere, though, we're holding on to a few clear spells. On the whole, though, the start of next week looks pretty unsettled. Showers or longer spells of rain around, perhaps turning a bit drier towards the middle part of the coming week.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
How would you like an extra £3,000 in your bank account each month for an entire year? Well, it could be yours with our £36,000 secret salary to be won. You'll get £36,000 in cash to do whatever you like with over the coming year. And the best news? It's totally